Chosen one, listen carefully. This message has been blocked 4 times in the last 72 hours. Not by weak connection, not by random error, not by the small accidents we tell ourselves are coincidence. It was blocked by something older, something that has been watching the calendar long before you were old enough to read it, and it failed. Because the Holy Spirit overrode every barrier just to bring these 3 days into your hands at the exact moment they are unfolding. You are standing inside a window that was marked for you before you were born. 3 days, May 29th, May 30th, May 31st. 3 doors that open one after the other and close together at midnight as Sunday becomes Monday. If you skip them, the next window of comparable size is not on the calendar anyone can see clearly. If you walk through them, the 18 months that follow become something the past decade of your life will not recognize. God just said 4 words. Not suggested, not recommended, commanded. Do not skip this. And he said it with a tone you have not heard before. Not anger at you, not disappointment in you, but fury at what has been stolen from you. Grief for the years they buried while you slept through your own brilliance. Reverence for the part of you that still listened anyway. Before I say anything else, I need you to hear this clearly. The window is open right now. It opened at midnight as Thursday became Friday. It closes at midnight as Sunday becomes Monday. Whatever day delivered you to this voice, the window does not care which day. The window only cares whether you walked through it before midnight as Sunday becomes Monday, sealed it shut again. If today is the first day for you, your first morning is now. If today is the second day for you, your first morning is now, and Friday compresses into the first hour of your participation. If today is the third day for you, your first morning is now, and the 2 days behind you fold into a single deep practice that begins the moment this message ends. So, whatever clock you are reading, you are not late, you arrived. The Holy Spirit does not get the timing wrong. The Holy Spirit waited until you were free enough to receive. And the receiving begins as soon as you finish hearing these words and choose to participate. I want you to understand what these 3 days are, not vaguely, not poetically, concretely. Friday, May 29th, is the day of letting go. There was another Friday, long ago, on a hill outside an old city, where the greatest letting go in history was performed. That Friday set the pattern. Every Friday since has carried a small echo of that one. Your Friday, this Friday, carries the echo too. You may not feel it yet. The feeling comes later, after you have done your small version of what was done on the hill. The small version is the practice. The small version takes 8 minutes in the morning and a quiet walk in the afternoon and 1 sentence written in the evening. The small version is not heroic. The small version is exact. I want you to hold that pattern in your mind for a moment, because the pattern matters more than the words I am using to describe it. The pattern is this. Before something new can rise in a life, something old has to be set down, not symbolically, structurally. The body cannot carry the old thing and the new thing simultaneously. The nervous system has a finite capacity. The capacity is occupied in most adults by the old thing. The old thing might be a story about who you have failed. The old thing might be a grievance against someone who hurt you. The old thing might be a vow you made in your 20s that no longer fits the life you are living. The old thing might be a quiet shame about something you did or did not do decades ago. Whatever the old thing is, it is using up the capacity. And as long as the capacity is being used by the old thing, the new thing has nowhere to go. Friday is the day the old thing comes off the shelf. Friday is the day you carry it to the place where things are set down, and you set it down there. The setting down is not forgetting. The setting down is not resolving. The setting down is the act of letting the body release the grip that the body has been holding for years. The body knows what to release. You do not have to tell it. The body has been waiting for permission. Friday is the day you give the permission. Saturday, May 30th, is the day of sitting in silence. There is a kind of silence that exists in the world only once in a while. The silence between the letting go and the rising. The silence of the body in the ground between the death and the resurrection. Saturday is that silence. Saturday is the in-between. Saturday is when nothing seems to be happening and everything is being prepared. Most people, when they walk through a window like this one, want to skip Saturday. Most people want Friday to lead straight into Sunday. But the Saturday is the day the seed sits in the dark soil. The Saturday is the day the body becomes capable of carrying what is coming. If you skip Saturday, the Sunday cannot land. The Sunday does not have a place to land in. The Saturday is the place. The hardest part of Saturday is not the silence. The hardest part of Saturday is the resistance to the silence. The modern mind has been trained over many years to fill every available moment with stimulation. The training is not a moral failing. The training is the cumulative result of 3 decades of small interventions by a culture that has been monetizing attention. The training is in you. The training will, on Saturday, try to fill the silence with something. Will pull you toward a screen. Will pull you toward a task. Will pull you toward any small activity that would interrupt the silence and bring you back to the familiar terrain of the overstimulated mind. You will feel the pull. You will feel it strongly. The pull is normal. The pull is the training trying to maintain itself. The job of Saturday is to feel the pull and to not act on it, to let the pull pass, to let the silence sit undisturbed for the hours that Saturday gives you. The silence, when it is allowed to sit, does its work. The work is the preparation. The preparation is what Sunday is for. Sunday, May 31st, is the day of rising, the day the stone moves, the day the seal that has been holding you breaks open from inside, the day the version of you that was sealed in the tomb 3 decades ago stands up, brushes off the soil, and steps out into the room you are sitting in. Sunday is not a metaphor for that. Sunday is the structural event the prior 2 days were preparing for. And the 3rd day is the day 3 things become one: the Father, the Son, the Spirit, the mind, the body, the breath, the 8-year-old self, the practical self, the one who walks through. 3 become 1 on the 3rd day. That is the pattern. That is the older pattern Friday and Saturday were always rehearsing for. So 3 days, 3 doors, 3 different kinds of work, 1 window. The window we are inside right now. I want you to understand what has been happening to you in the past 6 months. Every quiet evening you spent telling yourself you were fine when you were not. Every morning you woke up tired before the day had even begun. Every conversation where the right answer arrived in your head 2 hours too late. Every moment you forgot the name of someone you loved and felt that small cold drop in your stomach that you blamed on age, on stress, on the busy life. None of those moments were random. They were patterned. They were the surface signs of a deeper structural condition that has a name, that has a measurement, that has, for the first time in your adult life, a way to be addressed. I want to add a few more specific things, because some of you have been wondering whether what you have been experiencing is actually what I am describing. The specifics will help you check. The first specific is the moment you have caught yourself, recently, walking into a room with a purpose and forgetting, the moment you arrive in the room, what the purpose was. That is not a memory failure. That is a moment when the bridge between the intention side of the brain and the execution side of the brain dropped briefly, the signal. The drop has become more frequent in the past 2 years. The drop will, on the other side of the practice, return to the frequency it had when you were younger. The second specific is the moment, in the past several months, when you found yourself reading the same paragraph 3 times in a row and still not absorbing it. That is not a focus problem. That is the same connection drop. The reading mind is on one side of the bridge. The retaining mind is on the other side. When the bridge is degraded, the words come in and do not lodge. The reading is real. The retaining is what does not happen. The practice rebuilds the bridge. The retaining returns. Books begin to land again the way they used to land. The third specific is the moment, recently, when you notice that a song you used to love no longer moves you, or a movie you used to love no longer moves you, or a poem you used to love no longer moves you. The art has not changed. The art is the same art. The receptor in you, the one that used to register what the art was doing, has been suppressed. The receptor is on the right hemispheric side. The suppression is the disconnection. The practice restores the receptor. Songs that lost their power come back to power. Movies that lost their grip come back to grip. The texture of cultural life returns to something approaching what it used to be when you were younger and your hemispheres were still in conversation. The fourth specific is the moment, possibly several moments in the past year, when you had a thought that you knew was important, had it briefly, did not write it down, and then could not retrieve it 20 minutes later. The thought was real. The thought was important. The thought was being generated by the right hemispheric side and was supposed to be retained by the left hemispheric side, and the retention failed because the bridge between them is degraded. The lost thoughts are not gone forever. The mechanism that produces them is intact. The mechanism that retains them is what needs to be rebuilt. The practice rebuilds it. The fifth specific is the moment, in the past several years, when you sat down to begin a project and could not find the energy to start. The energy was not laziness. The energy was the absence of the connection between the planning side and the doing side of the brain. The planning is intact. The doing is intact. The connection that allowed the planning to flow into the doing without effort, that connection is what has been degraded. The practice restores it. Projects that have been sitting on the desk for years begin, with surprising ease, to move forward. Those are 5 specifics. They are not the only specifics. They are the most common. If 2 or more of them resonate with your experience in the past year, you are not exceptional. You are inside the structural condition I have been describing, and the structural condition has a structural intervention. The intervention is what we are working toward in this transmission. What I am about to give you is not theology. It is not poetry. It is a diagnosis. And once you receive the diagnosis, you cannot unreceive it. Once you see the structure underneath the fog, you cannot unsee it. The fog stops being a mystery. The fog becomes a problem with a name, and a problem with a name can be solved. So, stay with me. The next minutes are going to give you the architecture of what has been wearing you down. The minutes after that are going to give you the 3-day protocol that addresses it. The minutes after that are going to give you the small tool that does in 8 minutes a day what willpower cannot do in 8 years. And the closing of this transmission is going to give you a sacred form that has been used by people in different rooms in different centuries to seal an inner reorganization on the body. By the end of this hour, you will not be the same person who began listening. You will be a person standing inside an open window, with the door visible, with the path lit, with the practice waiting. Take one breath. Settle into the chair you are sitting in. Let the room go quiet around you. We are about to begin the real work. Here is the first thing you need to know. There is a version of you that you have not been since you were a child. That version learned new languages in weeks. That version remembered names after hearing them once. That version saw connections that the adults around you said were too sophisticated for your age, and then they patted you on the head and went back to their conversation. That version was not unusual. That version was you, operating the way every human brain operates before the world begins its long, slow work of putting that brain to sleep, one assumption at a time. The numbers are not theological. They are research. They are repeatable. They have been measured in laboratories across this country for the past 4 decades, and the result is the same every time the test is run. 98% of children, when they are given the standard creativity assessment that was developed at the Goddard Space Flight Center, score at what is technically called the creative genius level. 98%. Almost all of you, almost all of us. Less than 1 in 1,000 adults, when given the same test, score at the same level. Less than 1 in 1,000. That is not a small number. That is not a margin of error. That is what one of the senior scientists in the original study called, in his own words, the great swindle of our lifetime. He did not mean swindle as in deception by a single villain. He meant swindle as in the kind of systemic loss that happens so slowly across so many small decisions that by the time you notice it, no one in particular can be blamed for it. The classrooms did not do it on purpose. The companies did not do it on purpose. The screens did not do it on purpose. But all of them, together, across a span of decades, did it. And one by one, the lights inside the children dimmed. And one of those children was you. I want to give you a moment with that. Because somewhere inside you, when you heard that number, something moved. A small piece of grief you have been carrying without knowing you were carrying it. A small piece of validation you have been waiting for someone to give you. A small piece of recognition that the fog you have been blaming yourself for is not actually your fault. It was done to you. It was done to all of us. And the doing of it was so quiet, so polite, so distributed across so many ordinary moments that until now you have had no language for it. That changes today. Over the next 3 days, the language returns, the understanding returns. And, if you choose to participate, the version of you who was 98% capable, the version who was 8 years old and unstoppable, that version begins the long walk back home. I want you to hear something. You did not choose this fog. You did not invite it. You did not earn it through laziness or poor character or the slow erosion of will that some part of your culture has been quietly teaching you to blame yourself for. The fog was placed carefully, strategically, across a span of decades, beginning when you were 6 or 7 years old, the exact age when the world first noticed that the light coming out of you was different from the light coming out of the other children. And the world decided, slowly, gently, with smiles and report cards and parent conferences, that the light needed to be smaller, more manageable, more normal. You agreed. You did not know you were agreeing, but you agreed. And now, almost 30 years later, you are sitting somewhere, holding something in your hands, hearing this voice, and the part of you that agreed back then is sending you a signal that says, this is the message you have been waiting for. Listen to it. Do not let your mind explain it away in the next 60 seconds. Do not let your phone ring. Do not let the dog bark you out of this. Stay here, because what unfolds over the next 3 days has been prepared specifically for the version of you who is finally ready to listen. The fog is not just in your head. The fog has reached your relationships. The fog has reached your work. The fog has reached your prayers. There are decisions you have not made because the part of you that used to make decisions like that has been asleep. There are conversations you have not had because the words you needed to say sat in some unreachable corner of your mind, until the moment for saying them had passed. There are promotions you did not get because the room saw a tired person in a tired chair, where there should have been someone with the wattage of an idea that could change the floor. There are romances that did not deepen because the spark that used to fly between you and the person you love has slowly been replaced by the careful comfort of two people who share a roof and a calendar. I am not saying this to wound you. I am saying this because the part of you that already knows this needs to hear someone else say it out loud. There is something profoundly different that happens in the body when an unspoken truth becomes a spoken one. The body relaxes. The shoulders drop. The chest opens by half an inch that nobody can measure with any machine, but that everyone feels. And what was a private ache becomes a shared one. And what was a shared one becomes a problem that has a name, and a problem that has a name can be solved. The problem has a name. The name is hemisphere disconnection. The two sides of your brain were never meant to operate the way they have been operating for the past 2 decades of your life. They were designed to synchronize, to talk to each other, to fire together in the kind of unified rhythm that, when you were 8, made you the child who could read a book at the kitchen table while a conversation about taxes was happening behind you, and still come out of the morning knowing both the story and exactly what your aunt was upset about. You could do that. You did do that. You did it for years. And then, slowly, you stopped. And the stopping was so gradual that you assumed the stopping was just growing up. It was not growing up. It was growing apart. Two hemispheres that used to be in constant conversation slowly went quiet on each other. The left side took over the daily work. The right side went into the back room and waited for permission to come out again. And the permission, year by year, was never given. End. Why did the connection between hemispheres degrade in the first place? Why does it happen predictably to almost every adult in this country, regardless of education, regardless of income, regardless of whether they grew up in the city or the country, regardless of religion, regardless of personality type? There is no demographic that escapes this. There is a small percentage who, for genetic or environmental reasons, hold the connection longer than the rest. Less than 1 in 1,000. By the time we are talking about late adulthood, the rest of us all lose it. In roughly the same way, on roughly the same timeline, through roughly the same mechanism. The mechanism is overstimulation of the survival side of the brain. The technical name for the side that handles immediate threats, that processes loud noises, that responds to urgency, that scans for danger, that fires when a notification arrives on a phone, that fires when an email lands, that fires when a deadline approaches, is the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, when activated, suppresses the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic system is the one that allows the connection between hemispheres to maintain itself. So every time the survival side fires unnecessarily, which in modern life is far more often than the body was designed to handle, the connection gets less of the resource it needs to stay healthy. And across years and years of being fired at over and over, the connection atrophies. I want you to imagine, for a moment, a strong stone bridge across a river in your hometown, hundreds of years old, built to last for 10 centuries. The kind of bridge people walk across without thinking. Now imagine that someone, every few minutes, drops a small pebble onto the surface of the bridge. Not a stone, a pebble. Each pebble, individually, does nothing. Each pebble, individually, is invisible. But the dropping happens for 15 hours a day, every day, for 30 years. By the end of those 30 years, the bridge has been worn down by the pebbles, not by floods, not by storms, by the small, steady, relentless dropping of pebbles. And one day you walk to the bridge to cross it, the way you have crossed it for your whole life, and the bridge is gone. And you stand there, looking at the river, and you cannot understand how this happened. You did not see it happening, nobody did. But it happened. That is what has happened to the connection between your hemispheres over the past 30 years. The pebbles were small. The pebbles were notifications. The pebbles were small bursts of adrenaline. The pebbles were the constant ambient hum of a culture that has been operating since roughly the year you were 8, at a level of survival activation that no human nervous system was designed to sustain. And the connection wore down, and nobody told you. And the cost, by the time you reached your current age, was that the kind of cross-hemispheric thinking that used to come naturally to you stopped being available without external help. Now, here is where the story turns. Because if the connection wore down through small, steady pebbles over 30 years, then it follows that the connection can be rebuilt through small, steady absences of pebbles in a much shorter time. Not 30 years. The brain does not have to relearn the connection the same way it lost it. The brain has neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means that a degraded neural pathway, given the right input, can rebuild itself in a fraction of the time it took to degrade. The right input, in this case, is a particular kind of auditory sequence that has been studied at major research institutions for the past 4 decades. The sequence is not music. It is not meditation. It is not sound healing in the New Age sense of that phrase. It is something more boring than that, and more powerful than that. It is a targeted set of frequencies that, when introduced into the ear canal at a specific rhythm, cues the 2 hemispheres of the brain to begin synchronizing again. The cueing is not magic. The cueing is electrical. The cueing happens beneath your awareness. And the cueing, when applied for 8 minutes a day over a period of 2 to 4 weeks, rebuilds enough of the connection for the kind of cross-hemispheric thinking that you have not done since you were small to begin returning. I want you to picture it the way I picture it. I picture 2 rooms in a great house. In one room, your analytical mind sits at a desk and goes through emails. In the other room, your intuitive mind sits at a piano and plays the song that has been writing itself inside you for years. When the 2 doors are open, the music drifts into the office and the office sends warmth back into the music room. The work gets done with grace. The song gets written with structure. The 2 of you, you and you, walk through your days as one person. But the doors between the 2 rooms slowly closed, at first by a crack, then by half, then almost all the way, and the closing was so slow that you stopped hearing the music. You stopped hearing it so completely that you forgot the music room was even there. You started to believe that the office was the whole house, that the desk was the whole life, that the emails were the whole point, and the song that had been writing itself inside you went quiet. Not because it stopped wanting to be written, because nobody was in the room to write it. I want to keep that picture in your head for a moment longer, because the picture matters, and because the picture is going to be useful to you in the weeks ahead as you do the work the practice is going to ask you to do. There is something I want you to understand about the music room. The music room did not disappear when the doors closed. The music room is still there. The piano is still there. The sheet music that has been writing itself for 30 years in your absence is still there, stacked on the bench, waiting for you. The room has been waiting. The piano has been waiting. The compositions have been waiting. None of them gave up. None of them moved on. They have been holding their position on the other side of a closed door for as long as the door has been closed. The practice is the opening of the door. The audio is the small specific tool that, applied to the hinges of the door over the 3 days of the window, loosens the rust that has built up over 30 years and allows the door to swing open again. Once the door is open, the music room is right where you left it. The piano is in tune. The compositions are intact. The person who has been writing them is, in some structural way, the same 8-year-old self who has been sealed in the tomb. The two metaphors are the same metaphor. The music room is the tomb. The piano is the original light. The 8-year-old self has been the composer the whole time. And the opening of the door on Friday morning in the room you are sitting in right now lets you, for the first time in 3 decades, hear what has been written. That is what has happened. That is the structural condition I have been describing. That is the fog with a name. And that is what these 3 days have the capacity to begin to reverse, if you participate. Now I need to add one more layer of the picture, because the layer matters, and the layer is what makes the whole picture make sense. You have been carrying a stone for 30 years. The stone is not a metaphor I invented for this conversation. The stone is the cumulative weight of every small piece of survival activation that has been deposited in your nervous system since the year you were 6 or 7 years old. The notifications, the deadlines, the urgent calls, the little micro-alarms that fire in your body every few minutes and remind it that danger is imminent even when no danger is in the room. Each one of those, individually, did nothing. Each one of those, individually, was forgettable. But the accumulating, year by year, decade by decade, deposited a kind of weight that did not exist when you were 5. The weight is the stone. And the stone, now, sits in front of a tomb. The tomb is where the 8-year-old version of you was sealed 30 years ago, when the world began the long process of teaching you to be smaller. Inside the tomb is your original light. Inside the tomb is the brain that scored 98% on the creativity assessment. Inside the tomb is the version of you who learned languages in weeks and remembered names after hearing them once and saw connections the adults around you said were too sophisticated for your age. That version is not dead. That version was sealed. There is a difference between dead and sealed. A dead thing cannot be revived. A sealed thing can be unsealed. The unsealing is what the 3 days are for. The 3 days are the days the stone moves. Friday is the day the grip of the stone loosens, because the work of Friday is the letting go, and the letting go is what releases your nervous system from the small daily survival firing that has been holding the stone in place. Saturday is the day the stone is partially rolled. You sit beside it. You wait. You hear, faintly, from inside the tomb, the breathing of the version of you that is preparing to step out. Sunday is the day the stone is rolled all the way away, and the original version of you, the version that was sealed at age 8, steps out into the room you are sitting in, and the room is changed forever by who you have become. That is the picture. That is the architecture of the 3 days. The next minutes are going to give you the science underneath the picture, then the protocol of how you participate, then the small tool that does the technical work of loosening the stone, then the closing ceremony that seals the work into your body for the 18 months that follow. Now the science, because some of you are skeptical, and skepticism at this point in the conversation is appropriate. I respect it. I will give you what skepticism deserves. The first name you need to know is Dr. Roger Sperry. Some of you have heard of him. Most of you have not. He was an American neuroscientist who, in 1981, won the Nobel Prize in Physiology for his work on what is called split brain research. What he discovered, very simply, is that the 2 hemispheres of the human brain can operate independently of each other, that they each have their own kinds of intelligence, and that when the bridge between them is intact, the result is what he called whole brain activation. Whole brain activation, in his measurements, was the state that produced what we ordinarily call genius. It was not a metaphor, it was a measured state. The Nobel Committee did not give him the prize because his ideas were poetic. They gave him the prize because his ideas were correct. They have been corroborated for 40 years. What Sperry did not have, in 1981, was a way to reproduce whole brain activation reliably outside of a clinical environment. He could measure it, he could observe it. He could not switch it on in an ordinary person without 2 hours of laboratory work with electrodes and equipment that no household has. So his research, for decades, lived in academic journals and influenced the people who worked in his subfield, but did not reach the general population. The hemisphere disconnection continued. The general population kept losing the synchronization, and the gap between what Sperry knew was possible and what ordinary people had access to grew wider year by year. The researchers who followed Sperry in the 1990s and the 2000s continued the work, but encountered the same wall. They could measure the difference between connected and disconnected hemispheres with growing precision. They could correlate the connection with outcomes in measurable domains like memory, problem-solving, language acquisition, emotional regulation. They built ever more sophisticated maps of which kinds of activities, in which combinations, supported the connection. They knew, by the end of the 2000s, almost everything that could be known about how the connection worked, what it correlated with, and how to measure it. What they still did not know was how to give the connection back to a person who had lost it in any practical form. The clinical procedures remained clinical. The home version did not exist. That changed in the past decade when a new generation of researchers began combining the older split-brain literature with the rapidly developing field of auditory neuroscience. Auditory neuroscience, in its current form, did not exist when Sperry won his prize. The tools to study how the brain processes specific frequencies in specific patterns at specific volumes over specific durations simply were not available. By the early 2010s, those tools were available. By the late 2010s, the first laboratory protocols using targeted auditory sequences to influence hemispheric connection were being published. By the early 2020s, a small number of those protocols had been refined enough to leave the lab. In the past few years, that gap has finally been closed. A small team of researchers in New York took the principles of the research of Sperry and combined them with the new tools that have come out of the past 15 years of auditory neuroscience. They produced something that does, in 8 minutes, at home, what used to take 1 hour, in a lab, with electrodes and a technician. The thing they produced is not yet famous. The general population has not heard of it widely, but the people who have used it have begun, quietly, to tell their friends. The friends tell their friends. The wave is slow because the team has not advertised aggressively. The team chose to grow this way, deliberately, because the wave has to begin with the right people. And the right people, for this kind of technology, are the people who already feel inside themselves that something is asking to come back online. People like you, people hearing this voice right now, people in this exact threshold. I am not going to name the tool yet. I am not going to give you a price. I am not going to give you a link. We are not at that part of the message. We will be at that part later. For now, what I want you to do is hold the idea. Hold the picture of the stone being moved by something more specific than willpower. Hold the picture of a team in New York that has been quietly handing this back to ordinary people. Hold the picture of 3 days, this weekend, when the conditions for the rebuilding are at their most generous. And hold the picture of you, sitting where you are right now, with the doors in your great house knocking softly from the inside, asking to be opened. There is a reason I am not naming the tool yet. The reason is structural. If I named it in the first 3 minutes of this message, The part of you that has been making survival decisions for the past 20 years would have made the decision. That part would have either bought it impulsively or rejected it dismissively. Either way, the part of you that actually needs to choose would have been bypassed. The part of you that has been listening for the past while is not the survival part. The part of you that has been listening is the deeper knowing. That part needs to be the one who chooses, and that part needs the full picture before it can choose well. So I have been building the picture slowly, so that by the time I name the tool, the choice you make is a choice that comes from the right room of your house. The picture is almost complete. There are a few more pieces. The few more pieces have to do with what is in the 8 minutes of audio that the team produced. The story of the doctor whose name I will give you in a few minutes. The reason the price is what it is. The warning about imitations that are circulating in the world, because there are imitations, and the imitations do not work. And I want you to know how to tell the difference before you go looking. And the specific instruction for the 3 days that are unfolding right now, which is the practical heart of what this transmission has been preparing you for. Stay with me. The pace is going to stay slow and steady. The depth is going to stay where it is. We are about to enter the section where the listening becomes the doing, and the doing is what these 3 days are for. The next part of the conversation is the section that gives you the after, the picture of what your life looks like a year from this Sunday if you walk through these 3 days. And the picture of what your life looks like also a year from this Sunday if you do not. I am going to give you both pictures, honestly, without manipulation, without fear-mongering, without the kind of selling that makes people stop trusting what they are hearing. Because the choice between the two pictures is being made by you in the next hour, and you deserve to see both clearly before you choose. So let me show you the first picture, the picture of the year that comes if you walk through. A year from now, on a Tuesday morning that you cannot see yet, you wake up before your alarm. The room is quiet. You sit on the edge of the bed for a moment, and you notice something that has become so normal to you in the past several months that you almost forget to notice it anymore. You notice that the fog is not in the room with you. The morning is not grey. The first thought in your head is not, "Oh no, here we go again." The first thought in your head is something small and specific and almost playful, a sentence about a sentence you want to write today, a picture in your mind of the person you want to call later, a small movement of feeling toward the work that 18 months ago you had given up on. You stand up. Your feet remember the floor. You go to the kitchen and you make the coffee, and you notice that the coffee does not have to do the work of pulling you out of the negative because there is no negative to be pulled out of. The morning starts at neutral. By the time you sit down at your desk, you are already at positive. And from positive, the day climbs. Not effortlessly. Days are days. They have their textures. But the climb is available to you in a way it has not been available in years. A year from now, on a Friday evening, you are out to dinner with your spouse. You have been doing this dinner once a week for years. It used to be a kind of obligation that you both honored without quite enjoying. Now it is not that. Now there is something between you that has come back. You are laughing. You are listening. Your spouse is telling you a story you have heard them tell before, and you are hearing it this time the way you used to hear it the first time, when you fell in love with them. The reason you are hearing it that way is because the bandwidth has come back. There is enough of you to listen now. 2 months ago, they noticed it. Last month, they said something about it. This week, they sent you a text in the middle of the day that said, "I do not know what is happening, but I feel like we are coming back." And you, sitting at your desk when you got that text, almost cried. A year from now, on a Sunday afternoon, you sit down with the project, the one you put down a decade ago. The novel, the album, the business, the painting, the course, the garden, whatever the shape of yours is. You sit down and you work on it for 2 hours, and the 2 hours pass like 15 minutes. The kind of flow state you used to read about and not quite believe in is now something that arrives predictably when you sit down with the work. The work is moving. The work is better than it would have been 10 years ago because you have a decade of life now, and life is what makes the work mean something. The work that was waiting for the version of you who could finally show up for it. That version has arrived, and the work, slowly, becomes the thing it was meant to be all along. A year from now, on a Saturday morning, you sit on your porch with a cup of coffee and you watch the light come up over the trees, and you remember, for the first time in a long time, what it felt like to be 8 years old on a Saturday morning. You feel that texture in your chest. You smile, not at anything in particular. You smile because the room in your great house where the smile lives has been open again for a while, and the smile no longer has to be earned, no longer has to be produced, no longer has to be performed for anyone. The smile is just there, the way it used to be there when you were small, the way the world meant for it to be there for the rest of your adult life, before the stones settled and the doors closed and the smile got rationed. That is 1 June. That is one version of the next year. That is what is on the other side of these 3 days. That is what these 3 days have been prepared to give you the door to. But honesty requires me to show you the other picture too, the other June, the other version of the next year, the version that arrives if you do not walk through. There is another June, there is another version of the next 6 months, the version where you closed this transmission 3 minutes after it began, the version where the window opened and closed while you were doing something else. In that version, on a Tuesday morning in October, you wake up exactly the way you have been waking up for the past 4 years. The coffee does the work it has been doing. The fog is the fog it has been. Your spouse looks at you across the table the way they have been looking at you. The work waits the way it has been waiting. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is dramatic. The year just continues, the way the years have been continuing. The smile, when it appears, has to be produced. The conversation, when it happens, has to be carried. The flow state remains a thing you read about and did not quite believe in. The 8-year-old version of you stays sealed in the tomb. The stone stays in front. The doors stay closed. In that other June, you also encounter the people who walked through. You will see one of them on a Sunday afternoon at a coffee shop. You will not know they walked through. You will only notice that they have a particular quality of presence that you remember having once, and that you have lately found yourself looking for in other people, without quite knowing what you are looking for. You will watch them for a moment, while they are reading a book or talking to the person across from them, and something inside you will register that they are inside a different operating frequency than you are. You will not be able to name what the difference is. You will assume it is luck or genetics or the absence of the stresses that you carry. You will look away. A few weeks later, you will see another one. A co-worker who came back from a long weekend trip in early June and who has been, since then, different. More present in meetings, less reactive to small irritations, more willing to bring up the difficult subject in the right tone. You will assume they had a good vacation. You will not connect it to anything else. A few months after that, you will see the change in a third person and a fourth. You will begin to notice, vaguely, that there is a small group of people in your life who all seem to have shifted at roughly the same time, around the end of May or the beginning of June. You will not know why. You will not ask. The asking would require you to admit that something happened that you missed. The missing is too sharp to confront, so you will keep moving. The year will continue. the fog will continue. The October Tuesday will become a November Tuesday, and then a December Tuesday, and the December will become the January and the February of the next year. And the fog will be the fog, and the stone will be the stone, and the tomb will remain sealed, and the 8-year-old version will remain underground. That is the other June. That is the year the fog stayed. I am not showing you that June to scare you. I am showing it to you because the choice between the two Junes is being made in the next hour, and you deserve to see both clearly before you choose. The framework does not punish you for choosing the second June. The framework also does not reward you in some external way for choosing the first. The reward is internal. The reward is that you walk into next Tuesday morning as a slightly different person than the one who walked into this Friday morning. The cost of the second June is also internal. The cost is that you walk into next Tuesday morning as exactly the same person who walked into this Friday morning. Some of you, hearing that, will think, well, that is not much of a cost. I am fine being who I am. I do not need to be different. And that is a valid response. If you are fine being who you are, then the window does not apply to you, and you should not feel pressure to participate. The framework is not for everyone. The framework is only for the people who, somewhere inside, know that there is more available and who have been waiting for the right opening to reach for it. If that is not you, no harm. If that is you, you already know it, and you have known it the whole time you have been listening. And the only question now is whether you act on what you know or whether you put it down and walk away. I want to tell you about someone. I want to tell you about a man who walked through a window very much like the one you are standing inside right now. I am going to change one small detail of his story because he did not give me permission to tell it on a recording, but the heart of the story is exactly as he lived it. He is 52 years old. He lives in a small town in rural Pennsylvania. He is a man you would not look at twice if you passed him at the grocery store. He has been working for the same company for 14 years. He has been passed over for promotion 3 times. He stopped painting in his late 20s, even though painting was the thing that made him feel most himself when he was a young man. He stopped because his father said painters did not feed families, and his father was the kind of man whose voice stayed in his head long after the man himself had passed away. He has a wife. They share a house. They share a calendar. They have not, by his own admission, looked at each other the way they used to look at each other in about 5 years. He has a younger brother who lives 2 states away. They have not spoken in 8 years. Not because of one big argument, because of one small misunderstanding at their father's funeral that neither one of them ever found the right time to fix. This was him 3 months ago. He found this kind of message the way most people find this kind of message, not by searching, not by planning, by being delivered to it on a morning when he was tired enough to actually listen. He listened to a transmission very much like this one. And at the end of the transmission, he did the thing the transmission was inviting him to do. He sat in his garage on a Friday morning because the garage was the only quiet place in his house, and he put on the headphones and he began the practice. 8 minutes, then 2 minutes of silence, then a walk in the woods behind his house for 40 minutes. Then, in the evening, before bed, he wrote 1 sentence in a notebook he had not opened in 2 years. The sentence he wrote was this: "I set down the story that I have failed my father." He read the sentence. He closed the notebook. He sat in his kitchen alone, in the dark, and he cried for the first time in 6 years. He did not know why he was crying. He did not need to know. The crying was the body doing something it had been waiting to do for a long time and had not been allowed. That was his Friday. Saturday morning he sat in the garage again. Same headphones, same 8 minutes, same 2 minutes of silence after. Then he came back into the house and he found, on the bookshelf in the living room, a book of poems his wife had given him for his 48th birthday that he had never opened. The book was where she had left it 4 years ago. The dust was on the cover. He sat with the book for 45 minutes in the small chair by the window, and he read poems by a man whose name he could not have told you the day before. The poems were about ordinary things: a walk, a garden, a woman seen across a kitchen. He did not understand all of them. He did not need to. The reading was the practice. The practice was the feeding of the side of his mind that had not been fed in a long time. That evening, at dinner with his wife, he noticed something. He noticed that she looked at him across the table the way she used to look at him, not in a dramatic way, just for a moment, between the salad and the main course. She caught his eye. She held it for 2 seconds longer than usual. She looked away. The dinner continued. The night ended. Before bed, he opened the notebook. He wrote the sentence. The sentence he wrote was this: "I noticed my wife looked at me at dinner the way she used to look at me." That was his Saturday. Sunday morning, he sat in the garage one more time. Same headphones, same 8 minutes, same 2 minutes after. He came back into the house, and he did the thing he had been afraid to do for 8 years. He picked up his phone. He found his brother's number. He hit the call button. His brother answered on the 3rd ring. The conversation was 47 seconds long. Neither one of them said anything important. They talked about the weather. They talked about their kids. The kids, the man in Pennsylvania had never met because 8 years of silence had taken those kids from him. They said they should talk again sometime. They hung up, and on his end of the phone, the man in Pennsylvania sat on the edge of his bed, and his brother, on the other end of the phone, 2 states away, was crying. He could hear it. His brother had been crying through the last 20 seconds of the call. Neither one of them mentioned it. They did not need to. That evening, he wrote the sentence in the notebook. The sentence was this: "I am the one who picked up the phone." And then the window closed, and his life continued, and the days became weeks. And here is what happened in the weeks that followed. The first week, he opened the closet in his bedroom where he had stored the canvases and brushes from his 20s. He took them out. He set them up in the corner of the garage where, the previous weekend, he had sat with the headphones. He did not paint that week. He just set them up. Setting them up was enough. The second week, he painted not well. He had not painted in 25 years. The painting was clumsy. The colors did not behave. But he painted for an hour, and at the end of the hour, he felt something he had not felt in those 25 years. He felt the small, specific joy of his own hand making something that did not exist before he made it. The third week, his wife saw the painting. She did not say much. She put her hand on the doorway of the garage, and she watched him for a minute, and she said, "You came back from somewhere." He did not know what to say. He said, "Did I?" She said, "Yes," and she walked back into the house. That night, they had a real conversation for the first time in 3 years. About nothing in particular, about everything in particular. The conversation lasted 2 hours. They went to bed late. They held hands under the blanket for the first time in longer than either of them could remember. The fourth week, at work, in a meeting, he said something that solved a problem his department had been stuck on for 2 months. The room went quiet. He had not raised his voice. He had not made an argument. He had said one sentence, the way someone says a true thing when they are not trying to impress anyone, and the sentence solved the problem. His boss looked at him for a long moment after the meeting ended and said, "Where did that come from?" The man said, "I do not know." The boss said, "You have been different this month." The man said, "I know." The fifth week, he called his brother again. The conversation lasted 19 minutes. They talked about real things. They talked about the funeral. They talked about the misunderstanding. They talked about the 8 years. At the end of the call, his brother said, "Can I bring the kids out this summer?" The man said yes, before he had finished asking the question. The 6th week, he was promoted. The 7th week, his brother brought the kids. The 8th week, he sold his first painting to a friend of his wife's who saw it on the wall when she came over for coffee. She asked how much. He said, "I do not know." She said, "Would $75 be fair?" He said yes. She wrote him a check. The 9th week, he understood. He understood that the version of him who had been sitting in front of the painting in his garage for the past 9 weeks was not a new version. The version was older than that. The version was the 8-year-old who had drawn dragons on the back of math homework. The version was the 12-year-old who had drawn the church in the watercolor that won the county fair. The version was the 25-year-old who had been told by his father that painters did not feed families and had quietly closed the door of the music room of his great house and walked into the office and stayed there for 25 years. The 10th week, he booked a small art show at the community center in his town. He did not tell his wife. He did not tell his brother. He hung 6 paintings, 3 of them new, 3 of them from the years before his father had spoken the sentence that closed the door. The opening night, 11 people came. 8 of them were strangers. 3 of them bought paintings. He came home that night and sat on the porch with his wife, and he tried to tell her what the evening had felt like, and the words did not come easily, because the feeling did not have words yet, but his wife understood anyway, the way wives sometimes understand things their husbands cannot quite say. The 11th week, the man started keeping a notebook again, not the small evening notebook he had started in the window, a different one, a larger one. He started writing in it for 15 minutes every morning, before the coffee, before the news, before the first email. He wrote about the paintings. He wrote about the brother. He wrote about the father, who had been gone for 9 years and who, the man realized, had been protecting him in his own clumsy way when he said the sentence about painters not feeding families. The father had loved him. The father had not known how to say it. The sentence had been the only way the father had been able to say, "I am scared for you." The man, writing in the notebook in the morning, understood this for the first time in his life, and the understanding loosened something else that had been holding for years. The 12th week, his wife was offered a job in a city 3 hours away. She had not been looking for it. The offer arrived from a former colleague she had not heard from in 8 years. The offer was for a position she had once wanted in her 20s and had given up on by her late 30s. She asked him if he thought she should take it. He said yes, before she had finished the question. The yes was not because he wanted her to leave for the week. The yes was because he could finally hear, in her voice, the version of her who had wanted the job in her 20s. That version had been buried under their shared accumulation of years, the way his painter had been buried, the way both of theirs had been buried, and the surfacing of hers required only that someone in the room, someone she trusted, said yes. He said yes. The 13th week, she started the job. The schedule meant she would be gone 3 days a week. He thought, before she started, that the absence would feel like loss. The absence did not feel like loss. The absence felt like a kind of breathing room that the two of them had not had in 24 years of marriage. When she came home on the 3rd night each week, the two of them sat at the kitchen table and they ate dinner slowly, and they talked the way they had talked the first year they were dating. The marriage, instead of weakening because of the absence, deepened. Both of them noticed it. Neither of them had expected it. The 14th week, the man received an email from a gallery owner in a town 2 hours from his. The gallery owner had seen one of his paintings at the community center opening, had asked who the painter was, and had tracked down the email through the community center director. The gallery owner wanted to show his work, not a single piece, 6 paintings, in a real show. With wine and an opening night and reviews and the possibility, the gallery owner said, of sales in a price range that would have made his father, if his father were alive, sit down on the couch and stop talking for an hour. The man read the email 3 times. He printed it. He put the printed copy in the notebook where he had been writing about his father. He wrote a single line under the email. The line was, "I am the one who picked up the brush." He closed the notebook. The 15th week, the brother flew out alone. Just the brother, no kids. The 2 brothers spent the weekend in the garage together. Some of the weekend they talked. Most of the weekend, they did not. The brother sat in the corner and read a book while the man painted. At one point, on the Saturday afternoon, the brother put the book down and asked, "Can I try?" The man handed him a brush. The brother painted badly for an hour, then stopped, then sat on the floor of the garage and cried for 10 minutes. The man sat beside him. Neither of them said anything. The crying ended. The brother got up. The brother said, "I have wasted a lot of years." The man said, "So, did I?" The brother said, "Do we still have time?" The man said, "Yes." And in the room, in the garage, that had become a different kind of room than it had been 4 months earlier, the answer landed like a stone landing in still water, and the ripples reached the parts of both of them that had been waiting for that exact sentence to arrive. The version was him. The version had been waiting. The version had been waiting in the tomb for the stone to move, and the stone had moved on a Friday in a garage in rural Pennsylvania, and the rolling of the stone had taken 3 days, and the version had stepped out, and the version had taken back the garage, and then the conversation, and then the brother, and then the room, and then the work, and then the painting, and then the wife, and then the small, specific texture of a life lived inside the body. It was given to him to live in. That is the story I want to tell you. I want to say one more thing about him before I move on. The thing I want to say is that he is not unusual. The man in Pennsylvania is not someone with some special spiritual capacity that you do not have. He is not more chosen than you are. He did not arrive at the practice with more faith than you have. He arrived at it tired. He arrived at it skeptical. He arrived at it convinced that the man at the dinner table from his father's funeral was the man he was going to be for the rest of his life. The practice did not bypass his skepticism. The practice met it. The skepticism is still in him. He still asks the rational questions. He still wonders, on certain mornings, whether what happened was real, or whether it was the kind of small narrative shift that anyone can experience if they sit quietly for 3 days in a row. He does not need to resolve the question. The painting on his wall and the brother on his phone and the wife who looks at him at dinner the way she used to look at him have already resolved it for him. The question stays open. The result stays. The reason I tell you his story is because some of you are carrying a version of his story. Maybe your tomb has a different stone. Maybe your 8 years was a different 8 years. Maybe the conversation you have been avoiding is with a parent and not a brother. Maybe the closet you closed had a guitar in it instead of a canvas. Maybe the painting on your wall is going to be a paragraph in a notebook, or a phone call to a friend you lost touch with, or a small business you walked away from when you were 31. Whatever shape yours takes, the structure is the same. There is a stone in front of a tomb. The 3 days are the days the stone moves. The practice is what loosens the seal. The result is the version of you that has been waiting under the soil. I want to add something here because some of you may be wondering whether your particular shape, whatever it is the kind of shape this kind of practice addresses. The answer is yes. The practice does not care what the specifics of your shape are. The practice addresses the structural condition underneath the specifics, and the structural condition is the same in all of us. Regardless of whether your 8 years was spent suppressing a creative gift or a relational gift or an intellectual gift or a leadership gift or a healing gift, or a teaching gift, or any of the many gifts that the world has been quietly teaching the 8-year-olds to put aside. The practice loosens the seal. What comes out of the tomb after the seal is loosened is specific to you. The specifics belong to you. The practice only does the loosening. The emerging is the work of the version of you that has been waiting. For some of you, the emerging will be loud, the painter in the garage, the phone call to the brother, the job offer that arrives unexpectedly, the marriage that comes back to life, the promotion at work, the sale of the painting to the friend of the wife who saw it on the wall. The loud emerging is what makes for stories that can be told at coffee shops and on transmissions like this one. The loud emerging is real. The loud emerging is one of the patterns the practice produces. For others of you, the emerging will be quiet, a slow softening of a relationship that has been brittle for years, a gentle return of dreams that had stopped arriving. A morning 6 months from now, when you wake up and notice that you do not dread the day, and you cannot remember when the dread lifted, and you sit at the edge of the bed for a minute, holding a small surprise at the absence of something that had been there for so long that you had stopped noticing it. The quiet emerging is real too. The quiet emerging does not make for stories that can be told at coffee shops. The quiet emerging makes for lives that, slowly, over months and years, become livable in a way they had not been for a long time. Both kinds of emerging are valid. Both kinds of emerging are common. The kind you will experience depends on factors I cannot predict from this side of the transmission. Whatever yours turns out to be, the practice will have done what the practice does. Now I owe you the rest of the picture. I have told you what is wrong. I have told you the science that explains what is wrong. I have shown you what happens if you walk through and what happens if you do not. I have given you the story of a man who walked through. What I owe you now is the protocol, the exact, small, specific instructions for the 3 days that are unfolding right now. But before I give you the protocol, I need to do one small thing. I need to mention, briefly, the tool. Not name it yet, not give you the price yet, not tell you where to find it yet. We will get to all of that at the right point in this conversation. But you have been listening for a while now, and the part of you that schedules has begun to understand that something is being offered. And the part of you that schedules deserves a small acknowledgement that, yes, something is being offered, and the acknowledgement helps the rest of you keep listening without the question building up in the background and distracting from the work we still have to do. So here is the acknowledgement. A small team of neuroscientists in New York, working under the direction of a doctor whose name I will give you later in this conversation, took the principles of the Sperry research and built a piece of technology that does, in 8 minutes a day at home, the work that used to require an hour in a clinical lab with electrodes and a technician. The work is the loosening of the seal. The work is the restoration of cross-hemispheric communication. The work is what allows the stone, over the 3 days of the window, to move. The technology is a piece of audio. You listen to it through headphones. You do not have to meditate. You do not have to repeat a mantra. You do not have to do anything other than sit, close your eyes, and let the audio do what the audio does. The link to where the audio lives is in the description below this transmission and in the pinned comment below as well. The full details of how it works, what is in it, who built it, what it costs, and the guarantee that backs it are part of the section that comes later in this hour. For now, I only want you to know that the tool exists, that the audio is what does the loosening, and that the practice I am about to teach you fits inside the 8 minutes of the audio and the structure of the 3-day window we are inside of. That is the acknowledgement. Now we return to the protocol. The protocol has 9 pieces, 3 for Friday, 3 for Saturday, 3 for Sunday. The pieces are small. The pieces are concrete. The pieces are designed to fit inside the schedule of an ordinary person who is not on retreat, who is not taking time off work, who has children to feed and bills to pay and obligations to keep. The pieces do not ask you to leave your life. The pieces ask you to let your life make room for 9 small specific acts of participation over 3 days. That is all. Let me give you Friday first. Friday is the day of letting go. The pattern of Friday was set on a hill long ago, where the greatest letting go in history was performed, and your Friday is a small participation in that pattern. On Friday morning, before you check your phone, before you open your computer, before you let the noise of the day enter your nervous system, you sit somewhere quiet, the bathroom, the garage, the chair, by the window, anywhere where the door can be closed and the room can be still. You put on the headphones, you begin the audio. You let the audio do what the audio does. 8 minutes. Then you remove the headphones and you sit for 2 more minutes in silence. During those 2 minutes, you do not think, you do not plan, you do not strategize. You let the work that just happened settle into the place where work like that settles. The full sequence is 10 minutes. 8 of practice. 2 of integration. That is the first piece. The second piece is the walk. Sometime in the afternoon of Friday, you take a walk, not a hike, not a run, not a workout. A walk, 40 minutes. No headphones, no phone, no music. You walk somewhere where there are not many people, and you let your mind do whatever it does. If your mind wanders, you let it wander. If your mind goes blank, you let it go blank. If your mind delivers a sudden flash of insight about something you have been trying to solve for months, which is what happens to many people during the walk on the first day of the window, you do not write it down immediately. You let it sit. You walk for 40 minutes. Then you come home, and only then do you write down what came. The walk is the walking out of what the morning practice loosened. The walk is the body completing what the audio began. The third piece is the sentence. In the evening of Friday, before bed, you write 1 sentence in a notebook. The sentence is the answer to 1 question. The question is, what am I setting down? The answer is 1 sentence, not a paragraph, not a list. 1 sentence. The sentence might be very specific. The sentence might be very vague. The sentence might surprise you. The sentence might confirm something you already knew. Whatever the sentence is, you write it, you close the notebook, you go to sleep. The sentence is the seal on Friday's work. The sentence is what the Friday of the Hill is asking you to do, in your small version, in the small room you are sitting in. That is Friday. 8 minutes of audio in the morning, 40 minutes of walking in the afternoon, 1 sentence in the notebook in the evening. 3 pieces, small, doable, exact. I want to say one thing about what people experience during the 8 minutes of audio, because some of you are skeptical of audio practices, having tried various meditations or sound recordings in the past that did not produce results, and you deserve to know what to expect before you begin. The audio is not music. The audio is not a guided meditation. There is no voice talking you through anything. The audio is a sequence of frequencies layered on top of each other in a particular pattern that the brain processes beneath the level of your awareness. You do not have to concentrate on the audio. You do not have to follow anything. You do not have to do anything other than sit, close your eyes, breathe normally, and let the audio play through the headphones. What you will notice in the first minute or 2, depending on your nervous system, is a small softening. The shoulders drop, the jaw releases, the pace of your thinking slows. Some people experience this softening as warm, some experience it as cool, some experience it as nothing distinct, just an absence of the usual background noise of the mind. Whatever you experience is fine. The audio is doing what the audio does, regardless of how the experience feels to you on the surface. By the middle of the 8 minutes, somewhere around the 4th or 5th minute, many people report a particular kind of stillness that they have not been in for a long time. The stillness is not sleepy. The stillness is alert. The stillness is what the older traditions called witness consciousness, what the neurological literature calls integrated cortical activity, what the 8-year-old version of you used to inhabit when you sat on the floor of your bedroom, drawing a picture for an hour without noticing time. The stillness is the state. The audio is cueing the brain to enter. The cueing works, even if the experience varies from person to person. By the end of the 8 minutes, when the audio reaches its closing sequence, most people report that they do not want to remove the headphones immediately. They want to sit for another minute or two with the headphones still on, in the silence after the audio has ended, because the silence in those moments has a texture that ordinary silence does not have. That is the 2 minutes of integration I described earlier. Those 2 minutes are not optional. Those 2 minutes are when the work the audio did during the 8 minutes is laid down into the long-term structure of the brain. Skipping those 2 minutes is like cooking a meal and serving it before it is done. The cooking matters. The settling matters more. Now, Saturday. Saturday is the day of sitting in silence. Saturday is the middle day. Saturday is the day most people want to skip. Do not skip Saturday. The Sunday cannot land without the Saturday underneath it. On Saturday morning, you repeat the audio. 8 minutes. 2 minutes of silence after. Same time, same place, same headphones. The audio will land differently on Saturday than it did on Friday. You may not notice the difference at first. You will notice it by the 2nd minute. The body will recognize the audio. The body will receive the audio with less resistance. The work will go deeper. That is the morning piece. The afternoon piece on Saturday is different from the afternoon piece on Friday. Instead of a walk, you sit somewhere and you read, not on a screen, a physical book. A book that is not about productivity or self-improvement or business. A book that is about something else. A novel. A book of poetry. A book about the history of something you find interesting. 45 minutes of reading. The point of the reading is not to learn the content of the book. The point of the reading is to feed the side of your mind that has not been fed in years. The intuitive side, the image side, the story side, the side that was sealed in the tomb. The reading is the feeding. The reading is the soft work of Saturday. The third piece on Saturday is the sentence. In the evening, before bed, you write the second sentence. The question is the same. What did I notice today that I have not noticed before? The answer is one sentence. You write it. You close the notebook. You sleep. That is Saturday. 3 pieces. 8 minutes of audio in the morning. 45 minutes of reading in the afternoon. 1 sentence in the evening. Small, doable, exact. Now Sunday. Sunday is the day of rising. Sunday is the day the stone moves all the way. Sunday is the day the window narrows toward closing and the door is widest just before it shuts. On Sunday morning, you repeat the audio 1 more time. 8 minutes, 2 minutes of silence after. By Sunday morning, the audio will feel like a different experience than it felt on Friday. By Sunday morning, the silence after will be a different quality of silence. Many people report that the third morning is the morning where, somewhere during the 8 minutes, the structure they have been working to dissolve finally dissolves. That is not guaranteed. But it is common enough that if you do not experience it on Sunday morning, you do not need to worry. The work has still been done. The dissolution may happen on Tuesday or Wednesday, after the window has closed. The window closes, but the work continues unfolding for some time after. The afternoon of Sunday is the most important afternoon of the three. The afternoon of Sunday is when you take one concrete action on whatever has surfaced during the 3 days. Not a big action, not a life-changing action. One small action. You make a phone call you have been avoiding. You send an email that has been sitting in drafts. You write a paragraph of the thing you have been trying to start. You schedule the appointment you have been putting off. You set up the canvases in the corner of the garage. One action, small, concrete, something that 3 days ago you were not able to do, and that today you are. The action proves to your nervous system that the practice worked. The action lays a piece of evidence into the structure of your life that says, something is different now. The third piece on Sunday is the final sentence. In the evening, before bed, you write the last sentence. The question is different this time. The question is, who am I now? The question is, who am I now? The answer is one sentence. You write it. You close the notebook. You go to sleep. That is the protocol. 3 mornings of audio, 3 afternoons of a specific kind of activity, 3 evenings of one sentence, one concrete action on the 3rd afternoon. That is the whole thing. 9 pieces in 3 days. Nothing more, nothing less. And then it is Monday morning, June 1st, and the window is closed, and the door is shut, and you wake up and the day is normal, and the air feels like normal air, and the world has the same texture it had a week ago. But you are not the same. You are not the same because the 3 days happened. The 3 days happened, and the practice was inside the 3 days, and the work that the practice did inside the 3 days is now part of you, the way a vaccination is part of you, the way a healed bone is part of you. The body of who you are has been restructured during a window when restructuring was easier than it usually is, and that restructuring does not undo itself just because the window has closed. I want to talk to you now about who you become on the other side of those 3 days. I want to talk to you about the identity that is waiting for you on Monday morning, the identity that has been waiting for you possibly for years, possibly since you were 8 years old, and the world began the long process of teaching you to forget who you were. The practice is not a tool to get something. The practice is a tool to remember something. You are not building a new self. You are unburying an old one. You are reaching down into the soil where the 8-year-old version of you was sealed by everything that came after, and you are lifting that one up, and you are letting that one breathe again. The 8-year-old version of you knew things. The 8-year-old version of you knew, without being told, that you were here for a reason. The 8-year-old version of you knew, without arguing, that the future was good, that the world was friendly, that you had something to offer, that the dreams you had at night were not random firings of a tired brain, but were communications from a place that knew you better than you knew yourself. The 8-year-old version of you woke up in the morning and felt the day waiting, and the day was not a burden. The day was a gift. Then something happened. Many things happened. Time happened. School happened. The years between 10 and 15 happened, when the body changes and the mind learns to compare, and the world begins to teach you that you are not as special as you thought you were. The years between 15 and 25 happened when the work of becoming an adult required you to bury the 8-year-old version, because the 8-year-old version was not equipped to navigate adult tasks. You had to put that one away in order to handle the responsibilities that came. That was not a mistake. That was development. That was necessary. You could not have raised yourself into a functional adult while still operating from the 8-year-old self. So you buried that one, and you let the practical self take over, and the practical self has done a competent job, has paid the bills and met the deadlines and managed the relationships and held the line. And the practical self is the one who has been running things for some time now. But the 8-year-old self did not die. The 8-year-old self was sealed, but a sealed thing is not a dead thing. A sealed thing is a thing that can be reached when you know where to dig and when the soil is soft enough to move. And during a window like the one that is opening now, during 3 days when the structures of the brain are easier to reorganize than they usually are, the soil is exactly soft enough. That is who you become. You become the person who has the practical self and the 8-year-old self integrated. You become the person who can pay the bills and also dream. You become the person who can meet the deadline and also hear the song that has been trying to come through. You become the person who can manage the relationships and also feel, again, the largeness of being alive that you used to feel before the world taught you that largeness was childish. The world did not teach you correctly. The largeness was not childish. The largeness was real, and the world taught you to suppress it, because the world is mostly made of people who suppressed theirs and who cannot stand to see someone walking around with theirs intact. So they taught you, gently, persistently, over years, that you should be smaller, and you obeyed, because obedience kept you safe, and the smallness became your default, and you forgot that the smallness was learned, and you began to believe that the smallness was who you were. It was not who you were. It is not who you are. The smallness was a coat you put on when you were 12, and you forgot you were wearing it, and now the coat is so familiar that you have confused it with your skin. The 3 days are about taking off the coat. The 3 days are about remembering that the body underneath the coat is still the body you started with. The 3 days are about feeling the air on your skin again, the way the 8-year-old felt the air, before the layers began to accumulate. I want to give you a few specific examples of what comes back, so that the picture is not abstract for you. When the 8-year-old self returns, the first thing that often comes back is the dream life. The dreams begin to clarify. The dreams become longer. The dreams become more cinematic. You begin to wake up remembering dreams you had not been able to remember for years. Some of the dreams will surprise you. Some of the dreams will tell you things you have been trying to figure out by other means. The dreams are the right hemisphere's way of speaking to you, and the right hemisphere, after years of being shut out of the morning, has things to say. The second thing that often comes back is the sense of taste, not metaphorical taste, literal taste. Many of you have noticed in the past several years that food tastes less interesting than it used to. The morning coffee tastes flat. The dinner tastes like duty. The fruit at the grocery store does not have the smell it used to have. That dulling is not the food. The food is the same food. The dulling is the sensory side of the brain, which is suppressed when the survival side is overactivated, going quiet. When the connection rebuilds, the sensory side comes back online. And the coffee, on some Tuesday morning a few weeks from now, will surprise you. You will take a sip and you will pause, because the taste is suddenly there, in a way it has not been there for a long time. That is the moment many people describe as the first physical sign that the work is taking. The third thing that often comes back is the capacity to be moved. Some of you, in the past several years, have noticed that you do not cry at things you used to cry at. You do not laugh at things you used to laugh at. You see a sunset, and you note that it is a sunset, and you move on. You hear a piece of music that used to undo you, and you observe that the music is playing, and you continue with the task you were doing. The flattening of emotional response is not a personality change. The flattening is the right hemisphere going quiet. When the connection rebuilds, the response comes back. You will, again, cry at things that have nothing dramatic in them. You will, again, laugh in the way you laughed when you were 17 and the laugh came up from the floor of your stomach without warning. The flattening that has been your default for years was not your default at birth. The flattening was acquired. The acquiring can be reversed. The fourth thing that often comes back is the capacity to make connections between things that do not, on the surface, seem related. The 8-year-old version of you did this constantly. The 8-year-old version of you read a story about a fox and noticed something about your aunt. The 8-year-old version of you watched a thunderstorm and understood something about how a math problem was solved. The 8-year-old version of you was constantly building bridges between domains that the adult mind keeps separate. The bridges are the work of the right hemisphere. The bridges, when the connection rebuilds, return. And the return of the bridges is what most people describe, when they describe it at all, as feeling smart in a way they have not felt smart in years. They are not getting smarter. They are returning to the kind of intelligence they had at the beginning, which is not a measured intelligence, but a relational intelligence, which the standardized tests of school and work do not measure, but which life, the real life that happens outside of standardized tests, runs on. The fifth thing that often comes back is the original posture of your body. Most adults, by the time they reach midlife, have a posture that is partly slumped, partly tightened, partly armored. The posture is not aging. The posture is the cumulative result of 3 decades of survival firing in muscles that were not designed to hold survival firing for that long. The posture loosens on its own in the weeks after the practice begins. Your shoulders come down by an inch you did not realize they were up. Your jaw releases a tension you did not realize you were holding. The corners of your mouth, which had been pulled slightly downward for years, return to their original neutral, which on most human faces is a faint half smile. The face changes. People notice the face changing before they can name what has changed. Your spouse, your co-workers, the cashier at the grocery store, the small handful of strangers who see you every day on the same morning commute. They all begin to see, before anyone says it, that the face is different. The face is becoming the face you had at 8, with all the years of life on top of it, integrated, settled, returned. Those are 5 examples. There are others. The dreams, the taste, the capacity to be moved, the bridges between domains, the original posture. Each one is a piece of the 8-year-old returning. Each one is a brick coming out of the wall. By the end of 3 months of practice, most people who participate report that all 5 have shifted noticeably. By the end of 6 months, the shifts have stabilized. By the end of a year, the shifts are no longer shifts. The shifts are simply who you are now. The who you are now is who you were always meant to be, before the world taught you to be smaller, and the practice has done what the practice does, which is to remove the obstruction between you and yourself. That is the identity peak. That is what is waiting for you on the other side, not a new person, a remembered person, the original person, the one you were sent here as, before the world began the long, kind, patient work of making you forget. I want to give you one more layer of the picture, because the layer matters, and because the layer is what makes the Sunday make sense. On the 3rd day, 3 things become one: the Father, the Son, the Spirit, the mind, the body, the breath, the practical self, the 8-year-old self, the one who walks through 3 become 1 on the 3rd day. That is the older pattern your Sunday is participating in. That is why the work compounds the way it does on the 3rd morning. That is why Sunday is the day the stone moves all the way, instead of partially the way it moved on Friday or quietly the way it moved on Saturday. Sunday is the day three become one. The integration happens on Sunday. The integration is what the 3-day window has been preparing. And when the integration happens, the 8-year-old self steps out of the tomb. And the 8-year-old self walks across the room toward the practical self who has been running things for 30 years. And the practical self does not flinch and does not resist and does not feel threatened. The practical self has been tired. The practical self has been carrying everything alone for too long. The practical self welcomes the help. The 8-year-old self does not replace the practical self. The two of them shake hands. The two of them stand together in the room you are sitting in. The two of them, from that morning forward, run the life as a team. That is the integration. That is what the window does. That is what the practice loosens. And the practice, the 8-minute practice you do on Friday morning and Saturday morning and Sunday morning during the window, is the tool that loosens the seal. The practice does not give you a new identity. The practice removes the obstruction between you and the identity that was always yours. That is the technical description of what the audio does to the hemispheres. It removes the obstruction. It allows the original signal, which was being jammed by the overdeveloped survival side of your brain, to come through again. The signal was always there. The signal never went anywhere. The signal was just blocked. The practice unblocks it. This is why the work happens fast during the window. The work is not building anything. The work is removing something. And removing something is always faster than building something. A wall takes months to put up and minutes to take down when you have the right tool. The 8-minute practice is the right tool. The 3-day window is the right time. The convergence of those two factors is what makes this period of the calendar unusual. So when you sit down on Friday morning and you put on the headphones and you begin the audio, this is what is happening underneath the surface. You are not learning a skill. You are not adding to your repertoire. You are pulling a brick out of the wall that was put up around you over 20 or 30 or 40 years. One brick on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. By the end of Sunday, 3 bricks are out. 3 bricks is enough to see through. 3 bricks is enough for the original light, which has been on the other side of the wall the whole time, to come through into the room you have been living in. And once the light comes through, the wall is functionally dismantled. You may spend the rest of your life removing the other bricks, one by one, at the pace life allows. But the wall, as a barrier, as a thing that defines the room, is no longer a wall. It is a structure with a hole in it. And a structure with a hole in it is not a prison anymore. A structure with a hole in it is a building you can leave whenever you choose. That is what the 3 days do. That is what is on offer. That is what the marker is, that was placed on your calendar before you knew you needed it, that brought you to this voice, that has held your attention for this long, that is asking you, right now, to make a decision about whether you will participate in the window or whether you will let the window pass. Before I can show you the rest of what is in front of you, before I can give you the tool and the price and the guarantee and the specific instructions for how to access what the team in New York built, there is one more thing I need to reveal, and this one changes everything. I have been telling you about the audio. I have been telling you about the 8 minutes. I have been telling you about the team and the lab and the New York office and the doctor who put it together. What I have not told you yet is what almost stopped them from releasing it. What I have not told you yet is the warning they want every person who walks through their door to hear before that person spends a single dollar on what they have built. The warning is small. The warning is specific. The warning protects you from a mistake that almost 2/3 of the people who go looking for this kind of tool end up making. And the warning is the last piece of information you need before you make the decision about whether to walk through the window or whether to let it pass. So stay with me. The next minutes are the practical heart of this transmission. The next minutes are where the listening becomes the doing, and the doing is what these 3 days have been preparing you for. Here is the warning. The team in New York, after they finalize the audio and put it on a private page that can only be reached through the link in the description and pinned comment below this transmission, made the decision to release the audio directly to the people who needed it rather than through a distributor or a publisher or a major platform. The decision was unusual. Most teams in their position would have taken the easier path. A distributor would have doubled the price. A publisher would have demanded the rights. A major platform would have buried it next to 1,000 similar-sounding products that, on the surface, would look like the same thing. That last piece is the warning. There are products on the major platforms right now that look like the same thing. They have similar names. They have similar descriptions. They use similar language. They make similar claims. They are not the same thing. The team in New York's through the same clinical equipment they used to develop their own. The results were consistent. None of those products carried any embedded neural sync technology. They were labeled to attract clicks. They were monetized by advertising revenue. They were not built by neuroscientists. They were not based on any of the research the Nobel laureates produced. They were imitations. They are still imitations. And if you go looking after this transmission and you find one of those imitations first, you will spend a small amount of money and a moderate amount of time, and you will get no result, and you will come away believing that the entire category does not work. I want to spare you that experience. So let me give you 3 markers you can use to tell the difference before you ever click on anything. The real version, the one built by the team in New York, has 3 structural features that the imitations do not have. First, it is sold directly through a single page, not distributed across major platforms. If you find what looks like the same thing on a major audio platform, on a major retailer, on any platform you would normally use to buy entertainment audio, that is not the real version. The real version is not there. Second, the real version carries a 100% money-back guarantee for 90 days. The imitations do not. The imitations either have no guarantee at all or have a guarantee that requires you to prove you used the product correctly, or have a guarantee that quietly expires after 14 or 30 days. The real guarantee asks no questions. The real guarantee gives you 90 days to decide. Third, the real version names the doctor who built it, gives you the laboratory affiliation, and explains, in clinical terms, what is happening inside the audio. The imitations are anonymous. The imitations cannot tell you who built them because nobody specific built them. The imitations cannot explain the mechanism because they have no mechanism beyond marketing language. 3 markers: direct page distribution, 90-day no questions guarantee, named doctor, with laboratory affiliation and clinical explanation. The real version, the one built by the team in New York, meets all 3. The imitations meet none. The link in the description below this transmission and the link in the pinned comment below both point to the page where the real version lives. Both links are safe. Both links are the same link, placed in 2 locations for redundancy. The page is the only place the real version can be obtained. I want to add one more thing about the imitations, because some of you may be wondering why they exist if they do not work. The reason is the same reason that imitations exist in every category of effective intervention. The original product works, the original product gains a following, and within a year or 2, copies appear that use the surface language without the underlying engineering. The copies attract people who type the original name into a search bar and end up on a different page than the original. The copies cost less, or sometimes more, depending on the strategy of the copier. The copies do not work, because the working is not in the surface language. The working is in the underlying engineering. The engineering takes years to develop. The engineering requires laboratory access and clinical trials, and the slow, patient work of people who care more about the result than about the speed of release. The copiers do not have the engineering. The copiers have only the language, and the language, by itself, does not produce the result. This is why the team in New York has been careful, in every public communication they have done about the audio, to name the structural markers of the real version. The markers protect the people who would otherwise stumble into the imitations and conclude that the entire category does not work. The team would rather you find the real version, even if it takes you an extra minute of careful checking, than have you arrive at an imitation and lose your hope in the practice altogether. The hope, once lost, is harder to rebuild than the connection that the practice is designed to rebuild. So, the markers exist to protect the hope. Use them. Now, I owe you, finally, the rest of the picture. The tool, the doctor, the price, the bonuses, the guarantee, the link, and the specific moment in this transmission where the decision becomes yours. But before I give you the practical details, I want to do one thing the older traditions teach us to do before any decision about money or commitment or change is made. I want to give you the ground. The ground is the small section where I summarize what you have learned in the past while in plain language, so that the decision you are about to make is a decision made by the part of you that has understood and not by the part of you that is overwhelmed. So here is the ground. The why. You have been living for a long time with a kind of fog that did not used to be there when you were younger. The fog is not your fault. The fog is the cumulative result of 3 decades of nervous system overactivation that has slowly disconnected the two halves of your brain from each other. The disconnection has a clinical name. It is called hemisphere desynchronization. It is measurable. It is reversible. The reversibility was proven by a Nobel Prize-winning neuroscientist in 1981. The reversibility, until recently, required clinical equipment that no ordinary person had access to. The reversibility, in the past few years, has been engineered into something an ordinary person can do at home in 8 minutes a day. The what? The 3-day window we are inside of, May 29th through May 31st, is a window during which the structure of the brain is, for reasons that involve the calendar, the season, the cumulative momentum of the year, and the deeper rhythms the older traditions have always understood, easier to reorganize than it normally is. The work that ordinarily takes 6 weeks of consistent practice takes 3 days during the window. The work happens through a small, specific protocol of audio in the morning, structured activity in the afternoon, and a single sentence in a notebook in the evening. The protocol fits inside the 8 minutes of the audio, plus the time you would normally spend on other things in the afternoon and evening. The protocol does not ask you to leave your life. The protocol asks your life to make room for 9 small acts over 3 days. The who. The version of you who walks out of this window on Monday morning, June 1st, is not the same version of you who walked in on Thursday night, May 28th. The version that walks out has, in some structural way, integrated the 8-year-old self who was sealed 30 years ago with the practical self who has been running things since. The integration is the rising. The integration is what Sunday is for. And the integration, once it has happened, does not undo itself. The work continues unfolding for some weeks and months after the window closes. By the end of the next 6 months, the people around you begin to notice. By the end of the next year, the texture of your days has measurably softened. By the end of the next 18 months, the operating frequency of your life is different from what it has been for the past decade. That is the why and the what and the who. That is the ground. Now the tool. The tool is called the Genius Switch. It was built by a team of neuroscientists in New York, led by a doctor whose full name I am going to give you now, in this moment, because giving you a name is part of the giving of trust that this part of the transmission requires. The doctor is Dr. Daniel Barone. He is a neurologist in New York City. He has spent the past 2 decades studying the same field that Dr. Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize describing. He is not a household name. He has not, by his own preference, been on television. He has been quietly working in his lab and quietly publishing in journals and quietly testing what would happen if the principles of whole brain activation could be reduced from a clinical procedure to a daily home practice. The reduction took years. The reduction took many failed prototypes. The reduction took, eventually, the small, specific 8-minute audio that he and his team call the Genius Switch. The name is precise. It is a switch. A switch does not generate the electricity. A switch redirects the electricity that is already there. Your whole brain activation is already in you. It has always been in you. The switch is the thing that flips, and when it flips, the activation that was sealed becomes available again. That is the mechanism. That is the technology. That is the 8 minutes. It is not a brainwave. It is not a binaural beat. It is not a meditation app. It is not a frequency entrainment device. It is none of those things, and the team has been careful to distance themselves from those categories because those categories, in their clinical experience, do not produce the result the team is producing. The category Dr. Barone uses in his own writing is something he calls neural sync technology. The category is specific. The category is what allows the audio to do, in 8 minutes, what the older clinical protocols required an hour to do. The category is the reason the imitations do not work. The imitations are working in the wrong category. The imitations are addressing brain waves. The Genius Switch is addressing the synchronization between hemispheres. The synchronization is not a wave. The synchronization is a structural state. And the structural state, once it is established, does what the structural state does, which is to allow the original brain you were given at age 8 to start operating again. I want to tell you about a woman who used it. I am going to change her name and a small detail of her geography, but the structure of her story is exact. She is from Manhattan, 47 years old. Her family, for as long as anyone could remember, had carried a story about a curse. Her mother had told her, when she was small, that the family had been born under what her mother called the wrong star. Nothing ever quite worked out. Her father had given 22 years to a company, and the week after he was finally promoted to the role he had been waiting for since his 30s, the company shut down. Her older brother had been through 3 marriages by the age of 45. The family talked about the curse the way other families talked about the weather. She had inherited the story without choosing to. By 47, she had stopped fighting it, a job she could not quite love, a marriage that had gone, in her own words, from a fire to a hand warmer. A creative practice she had begun in her late 20s that had not progressed in over a decade. She had tried, in her 30s, every kind of intervention her culture had offered. Therapy, yoga, affirmation cards, weekend retreats. By the time she heard about the audio, she was not optimistic. She was tired. She bought it. She listened on the first morning. She felt nothing in particular. She did it the next morning. She felt nothing in particular. By the 4th morning, she noticed the heaviness she usually carried into work had lifted by half. By the 2nd week, Her husband, who had not paid her a real compliment in 5 years, looked at her over breakfast and said, "You look different." By the 3rd week, in a meeting, she said something that solved a problem. Her entire department had been stuck on for 2 months. The room went quiet. By the 4th week, she was promoted. By the 8th week, she had picked back up the creative practice she had set down 11 years before. By the 12th week, the romance she had given up on with her husband had returned in a way she described, when she finally told the team about it, as embarrassing and beautiful at the same time. By the 16th week, the family on her mother's side had begun calling her with questions, not because they had heard about what she was doing, because they had heard her voice on the phone and her voice had changed. The family did not all do what she did. Her mother, who is in her 70s, said gently that she was happy for her daughter, but the wrong star was the wrong star. Her older brother, the one with 3 marriages behind him, did exactly what she did. 8 weeks later, he sounded different on the phone too. Her younger cousin, who had been having trouble at school, sat with the audio for 2 weeks, and his grades climbed 2 full letters. The family did not all become evangelists for the audio, but the family began to notice that the story they had been telling themselves about the wrong star was beginning to feel, for the first time in 3 generations, like a story they were allowed to put down. The woman from Manhattan continued the practice for the rest of the year. She did not, in her own words, become a different person. She became the person she had always suspected she was supposed to be, the one who had been suppressed under the family story. Her work continued to advance. By the end of the first year, she was managing a team of 17 people, which was 3 times the size of the team she had been managing when she began. Her marriage stabilized into a daily rhythm of small intimacies that, on her side of the bed at night, she described in her journal as the kind of marriage she had thought existed only in other people's lives. Her creative practice, the one she had set down in her 20s, became a regular weekend ritual. She did not become famous for it. She did not need to. The practice itself, performed for its own sake on Saturday afternoons in her apartment, was the return of something she had thought lost. What I want you to take from her story is not that her life became dramatic. Her life did not become dramatic. Her life became, by her own description, finally legible. The thing that had been blocking her had been removed. The thing that had been blocking her was not the wrong star. The thing that had been blocking her was the same hemispheric disconnection that has been blocking you, that has been blocking the man in Pennsylvania, that has been blocking the person reading at the desk next to yours and the cashier at the grocery store, and the colleague you have not spoken to in 3 years. The disconnection is structural. The removal of the disconnection is also structural. The 8 minutes of audio over the 3-day window, plus continued practice in the weeks that follow, is the structural intervention that the structural problem responds to. That is one story. There are others. The team has collected, at the time of this transmission, the experiences of many people who have used the audio. The stories are not all the same. Some people feel the difference in the first week. Some people feel it in the 3rd. Some people, like the man in Pennsylvania I told you about earlier, walk through a single 3-day window and emerge into a different life over the following months. Some people use the audio every day for 6 months and only begin to notice the difference when the people around them notice first. The variation is normal. The variation is not a flaw in the audio. The variation is the natural distribution of how different nervous systems respond to the same structural intervention. What is consistent across all of the people who have used it is 2 things. First, the people who use it during a window like the one you are inside right now report results in a smaller number of days than the people who use it during ordinary weeks. The window matters. The calendar matters. The convergence of personal practice with the deeper rhythm the older traditions have always understood is what makes the work compound. Second, the people who refund the audio after the 90-day guarantee period closes are a small percentage of the people who try it. The team chose to disclose the exact percentage at the bottom of the page, if you are curious. The percentage is small enough that the team has been confident for the past 2 years to keep the guarantee structure exactly the way it is. Now, the price. This is the part I want to walk through carefully, because the price tells you something about the team that built it. And the team that built it is the reason the audio works. Dr. Barone's colleagues, when they reviewed the audio in clinical trials, told him the audio could honestly be sold for $500. Comparable in lab equipment costs $300 per hour. An in-home machine that approximates the same effect, manufactured by a competing company, retails for $7,000. So $500, by any normal measure of what something like this should cost, would have been a fair price. The team did not price it at $500. They did not price it at $200. They did not price it at $100. They priced it initially at $49. That was the list price. That was 40% below what the colleagues considered fair. And because you have made it this far in this transmission, the team has agreed to give you another $10 off. The price on the page today, behind the link in the description and pinned comment below, is $39. One time, not a subscription, not a recurring charge, not a course that adds fees as you go. One purchase. The audio is yours for life once you complete the purchase. The $39 includes the audio and 4 additional pieces that the team has decided to include with every purchase at no extra cost, because they want the audio to land inside an environment that supports the work the audio is doing. The 4 additional pieces are these. First, a guided visualization recorded by one of the top-rated creators on a leading meditation platform, designed to help you picture the unfolding of your life in 4 specific domains. Second, a smart grocery guide that lists 10 common American foods that contribute to brain fog and 5 ways to save more than $100 a month on groceries. Third, a classic manifestation book over 100 years old, considered the root document of every modern manifestation technique, available for $20 on a major online retailer, included here for free. Fourth, an illustrated infographic of the 5 habits the research literature most strongly associates with sustained whole brain activation, designed to be printed and displayed somewhere you will see it every morning. 4 pieces, none of them sold separately, all of them included. And the whole thing is backed by a 90-day, 100% money-back guarantee. The guarantee is unconditional. It does not ask you to prove you used the audio. It does not ask you to prove you used the audio correctly. It does not require any specific number of listens. It does not require any documentation. If you decide, at any point in the next 90 days, that the audio was not what you needed, you send a single email to the team, and they return every cent. No questions, no process, no fine print. The structure of the guarantee is the structure of the team's confidence in what they have built. They know what is in the audio. They know what the audio does. They have run the numbers on refund rates for 2 years. They are willing to bet the entire purchase, on every purchase, that you will not request a refund. They have been correct in that bet, the overwhelming majority of the time. That is the price. That is the offer. That is what is on the page, behind the link in the description and pinned comment below this transmission. Now, the soft acknowledgement of what I am asking of you. I am not asking you to make this purchase right now. I am not asking you to pause this transmission. The transmission is going to continue for several more minutes, and the closing form that follows is the most important part of the entire hour, and I do not want you to miss it because you stepped away to enter your card. The link will be there when this transmission ends. The page will be there when this transmission ends. The decision can be made then. If you want to make it now, it can be made now. Either choice is fine. The framework does not punish either choice. The framework simply notes the decision, and the noting is the entire transaction. What the framework does ask, in the spirit of the older traditions that this kind of transmission is operating inside of, is that whatever choice you make it from the deeper room of your house, from the room where the 8-year-old self has been listening through the closed door for 30 years, from the room where the practical self has been protecting you, from the room where the two of them are, this morning, beginning to come back into communication. The choice from that room is the choice that holds. The choice from the survival room is the choice that gets reversed in a week. So, whichever choice you make it from the right room. We have entered the last section of this transmission. The last section is the section the older traditions called the closing. The closing is not a summary. The closing is not a recap. The closing is a sacred form. The form has 4 parts. The form was developed in different rooms, in different centuries, by people who understood that the moment after a transmission like this one was not the moment to make a decision in a hurry. It was the moment to slow down, to sit, to allow what had been said to become what had been received. The form gives the receiving its proper space. The 4 parts of the form are these: a grateful pause, a release act, a declaration peak, a quiet seal. We are going to move through them in order. Each one will take a few minutes. None of them will be rushed. By the end of the 4 parts, the work of this transmission will be sealed in your body, and you will walk out of this hour into the day waiting for you on the other side, with what you came in with, plus what you have heard, plus the work the form will have done. Before we begin the form, I want to do one small thing. I want to address directly the part of you that has been listening through this transmission with a particular kind of attention, the skeptical part, the practical part, the part of you that has been weighing every claim I have made, flagging every moment that felt like it might be marketing instead of ministry, holding the line against premature commitment. That part of you has been doing its job. That part of you has been doing it well. And that part of you has earned, by its hard work, the right to be addressed before the closing begins. So directly, to that part of you, thank you for your work. Thank you for protecting the person you are protecting. Thank you for not letting the wrong things in. Whatever decision the larger person makes about the larger invitation that has been placed in front of them today, your work has been honorable, and your work has been received, and your work is acknowledged here, in this moment, before the closing closes around all of us. You do not have to lower your guard. You do not have to soften your standards. You can take everything I have said tonight and continue to examine it after this transmission ends. The examination is welcome. The examination is invited. If, after your examination, you decide the practice is not for the larger person, that decision will be honored, and there will be no resentment of you for having flagged what you flagged. You will have done your job correctly. But if, after your examination, you decide that the practice may, in fact, be exactly what the larger person needs in this exact week, your willingness to release the brake will be received with gratitude by the part of the larger person who has been waiting for the brake to be released. The 8-year-old self has been waiting. The 8-year-old self does not have authority to override you. The 8-year-old self can only wait for you to make space. Your making of the space, when and if you make it, is a gift to that part of the larger person, and the gift will be remembered. That is the acknowledgement to the practical self. The practical self has been spoken to. The practical self knows it has been seen. The practical self can rest, in whatever measure the practical self chooses to rest, knowing that the larger system is no longer asking it to carry everything alone. With that acknowledgement complete, the 4 parts of the closing form can now begin properly, because the skeptical part has been honored, and what follows can land in the deeper room of your house. Take a breath, a real breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth, slow, not deep, slow. Let the breath come in, and let the breath go out, and let the act of breathing be the thing that marks the transition from what we have been doing to what we are about to do. The first part of the closing form is the grateful pause. The grateful pause is not a thank you. The grateful pause is a stopping. The grateful pause is an act of stopping the forward motion of the transmission, the forward motion of the day, the forward motion of the life, so that for a small number of seconds there is no motion. There is only the chosen one, the room the chosen one is sitting in, the breath the chosen one just took, and the silence underneath everything. Stop now. Stop the part of you that is thinking about what comes next. Stop the part of you that is wondering whether to take the window. Stop the part of you that is calculating, comparing, sorting, planning. Stop all of that. Let it stop for a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In that stopping, there is a gratitude that arises on its own, without you having to manufacture it. The gratitude is not for anything in particular. The gratitude is the natural state of the system when the noise stops. The gratitude is what is underneath the noise. The gratitude is what has been underneath the noise the whole time. You did not have to find it. You only had to stop covering it. That is the grateful pause. That is the first part. Now we move into the second half of the first part, which is the speaking of the gratitude, briefly, in 3 lines. 3 lines, spoken into the silence. I will speak them, you will let them land. Thank you for the body you are sitting inside of right now. Thank you for the breath that just came in and just went out. Thank you for the timing of this transmission, which arrived in the week it was needed. That is the grateful pause. The first part is complete. The second part of the closing form is the release act. The release act is where you set down something you have been carrying. You do not have to know in advance what you are setting down. The release act will find it for you. Your job is to consent to the release and to let the part of you that knows what needs to be set down do the work. The release act has a pattern. The pattern was set on a hill long ago, on the Friday of all Fridays, when the greatest letting go in history was performed. Your release, this evening, is a small participation in that pattern. The pattern does not care whether you are religious or not. The pattern cares only whether you are willing to set something down. The willingness is the only ingredient. I am going to name 5 things. The 5 things are not necessarily the things you are releasing. The 5 things are options. As I name them, one of them, or some combination of them, will resonate with whatever is actually inside you that wants to be set down. You will know it when it comes. The first thing is the story that you have been disappointing someone, maybe a parent, maybe a partner, maybe a version of yourself you set up in your 20s that you never quite became. The story that you have been disappointing this person, that you have not lived up, that you have come up short. If that is the thing, set it down now. Set it down by saying, inside your own mind, the words, I release the story that I have been disappointing them. Say it now. The second thing is the story that you have been waiting for permission. Permission from a teacher, a parent, an employer, a culture, a tradition, a community. Permission to do the thing you actually want to do. Permission to be the version of yourself you actually want to be. The story that you cannot move until someone gives you permission. If that is the thing, set it down now. Set it down by saying, inside your own mind, the words, "I release the story that I am waiting for permission." Say it now. The third thing is the story that you have run out of time. The story that it is too late. The story that the chances you had to become who you might have become have all already passed, and what is left is just the management of the disappointment. The story that the door closed for you a long time ago and you missed it. If that is the thing, set it down now. Set it down by saying, inside your own mind, the words, "I release the story that I have run out of time." Say it now. The fourth thing is the story that you have to figure it all out before you take any action. The story that you have to understand the whole architecture, see the whole map, plan the whole sequence, justify the whole decision to the part of you that requires justification before you allow yourself to move. The story that movement comes after understanding, and that until understanding is complete, movement is not permitted. That story is one of the heaviest stories the practical self carries. The story protected you for many years. The story has, in the recent season, become a cage. The cage is not your enemy, but the cage has outlasted its usefulness, and now the cage is what is standing between you and the door. If that is the thing, set it down now. Set it down by saying, inside your own mind, the words, "I release the story that I have to understand it all before I move." Say it now. The fifth thing is the story that you do not deserve what is being offered. That whatever good is moving toward you, you have not earned it. That the version of you who is offered the window must first prove worthy of the window, and that the proof must be supplied in advance, and that until the proof is supplied, the offer cannot honestly be accepted. The story that the chosen one in the title of this transmission applies to other people, in other lives, with cleaner records, with fuller hearts, with more discipline than you have shown, and not to you. That story is the deepest one. That story is the one most people are carrying without knowing they are carrying it. If that is the thing, set it down now. Set it down by saying, inside your own mind, the words, "I release the story that I do not deserve what is being offered." Say it now. If none of those 5 resonated, that is fine. The release act still happens. The release act happens because you are willing for it to happen, and willingness is the only ingredient required. Whatever needs to be set down has been set down by the act of your willingness. The system that handles these things is competent. The system does not require your supervision. The system handles the release. That is the release act. The second part is complete. There is a small pause now between the release and the declaration. The pause is intentional. The pause is the space that always exists between the setting down of something and the picking up of something else. The pause is a few breaths long. Let me hold the space for a few breaths now, before we move into the third part. In, out, in, out. Now we move forward. The third part of the closing form is the declaration peak. The declaration peak is where you speak, into the room you are sitting in, into the silence that is now larger than it was a few minutes ago, the words of who you are becoming, not who you were, not who you have been, who you are becoming. The declarations are spoken in the present tense, because the practice of declaring in the present tense is what arranges the becoming. The future tense leaves room for delay. The past tense leaves room for regret. The present tense leaves no room. The present tense is now. The present tense is the only place where becoming happens. I will speak the declarations. You will repeat them in your own voice, in the privacy of your own mind, with the full weight of your attention behind them. 5 declarations, 5 statements. Each one is a brick coming out of the wall. Each one is a piece of the original self coming back up through the soil. The 5 declarations follow the pattern of the 3 days. The first 3 are Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The 4th is the restoration. The 5th is the walking through. Declaration 1. I am the one who let go on Friday. Say it in your own voice, inside your own mind, with the full weight of your attention behind it. I am the one who let go on Friday. Declaration 2. I am the one who sat through Saturday. Say it. I am the one who sat through Saturday. Declaration 3. I am the one who rose on Sunday. Say it. I am the one who rose on Sunday. Declaration 4. I am restored to the version of me that was sent here. Say it. I am restored to the version of me that was sent here. Declaration 5. I am the one who walks through. Say it. I am the one who walks through. That is the declaration peak. The 3rd part is complete. Something happens in the body when a sequence of declarations like that is spoken in close succession. The body registers the sequence. The body, in its own quiet way, begins to update its understanding of who it is housing. The understanding does not change all at once. The understanding shifts in small increments over the days and weeks that follow a declaration peak performed correctly. By the end of the next month, if you check in with the part of you that is responding to declarations like those, you will find that the part of you has begun to operate slightly differently than it operated before this transmission began. The shift is small. The shift compounds. The shift, given time, accumulates into something visible. But that is the work of the days that follow. The work of this moment is to move into the final part of the closing form, which is the simplest part, which is the part that holds everything that has just happened, that wraps around it, that protects it, that lets it set. The 4th and final part of the closing form is the quiet seal. The quiet seal is the simplest part. The quiet seal is silence. The quiet seal is 15 seconds of nothing said. The quiet seal is the period at the end of the sentence. The quiet seal is the moment when the work of the closing form is complete and the only thing left to do is allow the work to sit, undisturbed, in the place where work like that sits before the day begins again. I will count to 3. After 3, I will be quiet for 15 seconds. You will be quiet too. We will sit in the quiet together, even though we are not in the same room. The quiet will hold us. The quiet will seal what just happened. 1, 2, 3. That is the quiet seal. The 4th part is complete. The closing form is complete. Something has happened. Something has moved. Something has shifted in the room that you are sitting in, even if the room looks identical to how it looked when this transmission began. The room has not looked the same to your nervous system since the 3rd declaration. The room has been gradually reorganizing around the new orientation that the closing has installed. You may not notice it for some hours, you may not notice it for some days, but it has happened. The work has been done. I want to sit with that for one more beat before we go forward. I want to acknowledge what has just occurred. because the older traditions teach that an unacknowledged transformation is a weaker transformation than an acknowledged one. The acknowledgement is the seal on top of the seal. The acknowledgement makes the work durable. So let me name it. What has occurred in the last several minutes of the closing form is the following. You have moved through 4 discrete phases. In the grateful pause, you stopped the forward motion of your mind, and you allowed gratitude, which is always present underneath the noise, to come up briefly and be felt. In the release act, you set down 5 possible stories, of which 1 or more were yours, and you allowed those stories to leave the field of your active carrying. In the declaration peak, you spoke into the room a new identity in 5 short phrases, and the speaking, even in the private mode of your inner voice, was an act of installation. In the quiet seal, you held silence for 15 seconds, and the silence wrapped around the installation, and the installation became part of the structure of you. Those 4 phases, performed in sequence, in the way you just performed them, constitute a complete ritual. The ritual is older than this transmission. The ritual is older than the platform you are hearing this on. The ritual is older than the language the ritual is performed in. The ritual is a structure that the human nervous system recognizes because the structure was developed by human beings over many centuries to do exactly the thing that just happened in you. You are not the first to walk through the ritual. You are part of a long line of people who have, in different rooms, in different centuries, performed the same 4 phases and walked out of the rooms different than they walked in. The line includes saints and householders and farmers and merchants and mothers and soldiers and teachers, and the quiet ones whose names nobody knows. You are part of that line now. You have been initiated into a long form. The long form did not ask for your credentials. The long form opened to you because you showed up. I want to give you a sense of the depth of that line, because the depth is part of the medicine. The 4 phases you just walked through have parallels in nearly every contemplative tradition that has been documented in the past 2,000 years. The Christian monastic tradition has a version. The Sufi tradition has a version. The Jewish mystical tradition has a version. The Buddhist tradition has multiple versions. The Hindu tradition has versions older than any of these. The shamanic traditions of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, of Africa, of Australia, of Northern Europe, of Siberia, all have versions with local variations in the names and the specific words, but with a structural sameness that the comparative scholars of religion have been documenting for the past century. The structural sameness is not a coincidence. The structural sameness is evidence that the human nervous system, regardless of culture, responds to a particular pattern of stopping, releasing, declaring, and sealing, and that the pattern was discovered independently by groups of people who never spoke to each other, because the pattern is built into what we are. That you participated in the pattern tonight is not a small thing. That you participated in the pattern in the room you are sitting in, alone or with others, in the year you are in the day of the calendar that has been marked, places you inside the line that runs from the present moment back to the contemplatives of the early Common Era and forward to the people who will, in the next century, be walking through this exact structure in rooms that have not yet been built. The line moves through you tonight. The line is, in a small way, larger because of your participation. I do not say this to inflate the moment. I say this because the older traditions teach that a moment of participation in a deep form deserves to be named for what it is. The naming does not change what happened. The naming reflects what happened back to the person who participated, so that the person can hold the participation with the gravity it deserves. The gravity is not heavy. The gravity is grounded. The gravity is the weight of the line behind you and the line ahead of you, distributed across the small, specific act of you sitting in your chair and saying yes to a structure that is older than any of us. That is the acknowledgement. That is the seal on top of the seal. Now I want to give you a small bridge before we go any further. The bridge is the space between the closing form and the practical instructions that still remain. I want to give you the bridge because the closing form was a sacred form, and the practical instructions are a transactional form, and the two forms do not belong in the same room without a small bridge between them. The bridge is what allows you to step from the sacred room to the transactional room without losing what you received in the sacred room. The bridge is a picture. Let me give it to you. Picture, on a Sunday morning that has not happened yet, the version of you that walked out of the tomb on the third day. Picture that version standing in your kitchen, making coffee. The morning light is coming through the window. The house is quiet. The phone is somewhere else. The work that used to weigh on your shoulders does not weigh on your shoulders this morning because the work has reorganized itself in the background while you were doing the practice. The conversation with your spouse that has been waiting to happen has happened, or is about to happen, or has already happened in your mind, and the happening has changed something between you. The painting in the corner of the garage, or the paragraph in the notebook, or the phone call to the brother has been made, or is about to be made. The 8-year-old self is standing next to the practical self. The two of them are looking at the coffee. Neither one of them is in a hurry. That is the bridge. That is the picture between the sacred room and the transactional room. That is what is on the other side of the practical instructions that remain. Now, the practical instructions. There are 4 of them. The first 3 are small. The 4th is the larger one we have already discussed, but I want to name one final time, briefly, so that nothing remains unclear about what is being offered. The first small instruction is this. If this transmission has been useful to you, the older traditions teach a small act of confirmation. The confirmation is a small motion called liking. The motion is small. The motion is the act of pressing a single button. The motion takes a fraction of a second. The motion signals to the structure that arranges transmissions like this one that the transmission landed where it was meant to land. The structure responds to the signal. The next person who needs a transmission like this one is more likely to find it because of your motion. The motion is not for me. The motion is for the next person. Take it or skip it. Either choice is fine. The second small instruction is this. If, in the past hour, a particular face came into your mind, the face of someone who needs to hear what you just heard, the older traditions teach that the rising of the face is itself the signal. The face did not come up randomly. The face came up because the structure that arranges transmissions like this one is also arranging the network through which the transmissions travel. The face is the next node. The face is the next person the transmission is supposed to reach. The act of forwarding the transmission to the face is the act of completing one of the routings that the structure had already drawn. You do not have to write a long message. You do not have to justify the sending. You can simply forward the link and let the transmission do its own work on the other end. The third small instruction is this. If the format of this transmission has worked for you, if the voice and the rhythm and the architecture have done something for you that other voices and rhythms and architectures have not, the older traditions teach a small motion called subscribing. Subscribing is not a contract. Subscribing is the act of indicating to the structure that arranges transmissions that you would like to be notified when the next transmission arrives. The next transmission may be next week. The next transmission may be in a few weeks. The transmissions arrive when they arrive, on a rhythm the channel sets. Subscribing means you will be in the room when the next one arrives. Not subscribing means you may miss it. The choice is small. The motion is small. The connection is real, and connections like this, accumulated over time, become a kind of unofficial gathering of the chosen, who are quietly walking through the windows together, one transmission at a time. Those are the 3 small instructions, like, forward, subscribe. Each one is small. Each one is honest. Each one is offered without pressure. Take whichever of them feels right. Skip whichever of them does not. The framework does not punish you for skipping. The framework does not reward you for taking. The framework simply notes what you did. Now, the 4th and larger instruction. The 4th and larger instruction is the one we have already walked through, the one that has been the structural spine of the back half of this transmission. The 4th is the tool. The 4th is the 8-minute audio that loosens the seal during the 3-day window we are inside of right now. The 4th is the genius switch, built by Dr. Daniel Barone and his team in New York, available at the link in the description below this transmission and in the pinned comment below. At the price the team set for $39, with the 4 bonuses, with the 90-day, no questions, money-back guarantee. I have said it cleanly. I will not say it again. The link is there. The page is there. The practice is there. The window is open right now. The timing of those 4 things, all converging on this hour, is the framework saying, here is the door, here is the key, here is the moment to use the key. If you go to the link, the page will open and you will see, briefly, a presentation that explains in different words the same architecture I have explained in this transmission. You will recognize the architecture. The page is not going to surprise you with new information. The page is going to confirm what you have heard. The page is the bridge between hearing about the practice and having the practice. The page is short. The page takes a few minutes to walk through. The practical step of getting the practice into your hands takes less time than this paragraph has taken to listen to. When you arrive at the page, you will see the price clearly. $39, one time. Not a subscription, not a recurring charge, not a course that adds fees as you go. One purchase. You will see the bonuses listed with brief descriptions. You will see the guarantee, 90 days, 100%, no questions, no process, no requirement to prove that you used the practice or that you used it correctly or that you gave it a fair chance. The decision belongs to you. I have done my part by carrying the message. The team behind the practice has done their part by engineering the practice. The structure of the calendar has done its part by opening the window. What remains is the small motion of your hand moving to the link, and the small motion of your attention walking through the page, and the small motion of your decision, choosing yes or choosing no. If you choose yes, your first morning of the practice is the next morning. If the next morning is Friday, you begin Friday's piece. If the next morning is Saturday, you begin Saturday's piece, and Friday's piece compresses into your first hour of participation. If the next morning is Sunday, you begin Sunday's piece, and the 2 days behind you fold into a single deeper practice. Whatever your first morning is, the window does not care. The window only cares whether you walked through it before it closed. If you choose no, that is also a valid choice, and the framework does not penalize you. The framework simply notes the choice and moves on. Other windows will come. Other doors will open. The next one may be in a few weeks. The next one may be in a few months. The next one may be in a year. But there will be a next one, and you will hear about it when it comes, if you have chosen to stay connected to the channel that brings these transmissions. Whichever you choose, I want to say a final thing to you. Whichever you choose, you have been seen here. The act of you hearing this transmission has been a real act of presence, and the act has been received on the other side of the camera, in the structure that arranges transmissions like this, in the system that pairs the message to the person it was for. You have been seen. The seeing was not by me, because I do not know you. The seeing was by the system. The system saw you. The system arranged for you to be here. The system has its own intelligence, and the intelligence noticed that this hour was your hour, and the intelligence delivered you here on time, and the intelligence is satisfied that the delivery happened. What the intelligence does next is up to what you do next, but the seeing has already happened. The seeing is the part that was always going to happen. The seeing is the part that did not depend on your decision. The seeing happened the moment your attention landed on this voice. That is finished. That is sealed. I want to add one more layer to that, because the layer matters. The layer is the recognition that being seen is, by itself, a kind of medicine. Many of you, perhaps most of you, have been moving through your weeks unseen. Not unseen by people, necessarily. People see you. Your family sees you. Your co-workers see you. Your friends see you, in the casual way that friends see each other, but unseen at the deeper layer, unseen by the framework, unseen by the system that knows what you came here for, unseen by the structure that, when it functions correctly, recognizes the people it sent and arranges for them to be found at the right time. That unseen condition is one of the hidden hardships of the modern life. The condition is not named because the condition is hard to name. The condition feels like a low-grade loneliness that does not go away, no matter how many people you spend time with, because the loneliness is not about being alone in a room. The loneliness is about being alone underneath the gaze of the framework. The framework was looking elsewhere. The framework had not yet turned its attention to you. The framework has turned its attention to you now. That is what arriving at this transmission means. That is what staying through the transmission means. That is what completing the closing form means. The framework saw you. The framework spent this hour with you. The framework, whatever the framework is, however the framework operates, has registered your presence and noted your arrival. And the noting is permanent. You are no longer in the unseen condition. You are now in the seen condition. And the seen condition cannot be reverted because the noting cannot be unmade. Once a person has been seen by the framework, the person is in the records of the framework, and the records of the framework do not delete. That is the medicine. That is what you walk out of this transmission with, regardless of any other decision you make. The medicine of having been seen. The medicine that, for some of you, may be the most important thing you take away, more important than the practice, more important than the window, more important than the protocol. Some of you needed to be seen, more than you needed any of the other things. And being seen has happened. I want to slow down here, because the slowing down is part of the medicine. The medicine does not work if it is administered quickly. The medicine works if it is administered slowly, in the way an older healer would administer medicine in an older century, with attention to the rhythm of the receiving. So, let me slow down. Let me give the medicine its proper space. The hidden hardship I named a moment ago is the one most of you came in carrying without knowing you were carrying it. Many of you have spent decades in rooms full of people, while feeling, underneath all the conversation and all the obligation and all the daily small kindness that keeps a life together, that nobody at the deeper level was watching, that nobody at the deeper level knew what you had come here to do, that nobody at the deeper level could tell the difference between you and the next person, and you, on certain mornings, could not quite tell the difference either. And the not telling was the loneliest part of the whole arrangement. That is the condition I am naming. That is the condition that, until tonight, you may not have had words for, and the not having words for it was part of why it persisted. A thing without a name can persist for a long time because the carrier of the thing does not have a way to put it down. Once the thing is named, the putting down becomes possible. You have just named it. The naming happened not by you, but by the transmission. The transmission named the condition. The condition has been named. The condition no longer has the protection of being unnamed. The condition can begin, now, in the days that follow, to thin out. Not because you have to do anything specific to thin it out. The naming was the doing. The naming was sufficient. The thinning happens, after the naming, on its own, at the pace the body is willing to allow. You will notice it in the days to come, in small ways. The first morning you wake up and the room feels less empty than it has felt in a long time. The first afternoon you sit at your desk and the work feels less performed than it has felt in a long time. The first evening you sit at the dinner table with whoever is there with you, and the eating feels less mechanical than it has felt in a long time. You will not know, in those moments, that the thinning of the unseen condition is what is producing the difference. You will only know that the difference is there. The knowing comes later. The difference comes first. That is one layer of the medicine. There is another. The other is this. When the framework sees a person, the framework does not see only the surface. The framework sees the whole architecture. The framework sees what you were sent here to do. The framework sees the obstacles that were placed in your path by the years between you and the 8-year-old self. The framework sees the small specific gifts you were given that nobody else has, and that you, on many days, have forgotten you were given. The framework sees all of it. The framework holds the picture. The framework does not judge the picture. The framework receives the picture, and the receiving is the entire transaction. For you, the implication is this: you do not have to perform anymore. You have already been seen. The seeing was complete. You can stop, for the rest of your life if you choose, performing for the framework. The performing was always for the framework. The performing was the attempt to be noticed. The noticing has happened. The performing is no longer required. I want to spend a moment on the performing, because the performing is something most of you do not realize you have been doing. The performing is subtle. The performing is woven into the daily life so deeply that you cannot tell where the performing ends and the actual living begins. The performing is in the way you compose a sentence in a meeting so that you sound competent. The performing is in the way you carry your shoulders in a public space so that you look successful. The performing is in the way you respond to questions about your work, your marriage, your children, your plans, with answers that you have refined over years, until the answers no longer require any thought to produce. The performing is the long, invisible work of being seen as the kind of person you have been hoping the framework would notice. The performing has cost you something. The performing has cost you energy that you did not have to spare. The performing has cost you presence in moments when presence would have meant more. The performing has cost you the small, specific intimacies that are only available to people who are not performing. The cost has accumulated, the way the pebbles on the bridge accumulated, and the accumulation has shaped a great deal of the tiredness you have been carrying for years. The performing can end, not all at once. The performing has been a survival strategy for so long that the body needs time to learn that survival is no longer at stake. But the performing can begin to end as soon as today, in small ways. You can let yourself sit in a meeting and not curate the sentence. You can let yourself walk through a public space without holding the shoulders in the held position. You can let yourself answer a question about your life with the actual answer, not the refined one. And you can see what happens. The framework in those small moments of non-performance, will reward you, not with anything dramatic, with a small, quiet sensation in the chest that says, yes, this is the way it was supposed to feel, the way it felt before the performing began, the way it will feel more and more in the months and years ahead as the 8-year-old self and the practical self learn to operate together in the room you are sitting in. What is required in place of the performing is the small specific work of showing up for what you were sent here to do. The work is different from the performing. The work is quieter. The work is more particular. The work is something only you can do, because the work was given specifically to you, and nobody else is going to do it if you do not. The work is what the 8-year-old self knew about before the world taught that self to forget. The work, in some structural way, has been waiting for the seeing to be complete before the work could begin. The seeing is now complete. The work can now begin. I want to add one more thing, because the moment calls for it. When the framework sees you, the framework sees the specific gift. Every person sent here was sent with a specific gift. The gift is small in some lives. The gift is enormous in others. The gift is hidden in many lives, even from the person carrying it. But every person was sent with one. The framework knows what yours is. The framework, in seeing you tonight, registered the gift, the way a librarian registers a returned book, with attention to the specific title rather than the general category. The librarian sees the book. The book has a name. The book has a place on the shelf. The book is now where it belongs, after a long absence. For some of you, the gift has been hidden so well that you yourself do not know what it is. That is fine. The framework knows. The gift will surface in the months ahead as the practice does its work, as the connection rebuilds, as the 8-year-old self steps out of the tomb. The gift cannot be lost. The gift is part of the structure of you. The way the language you spoke first is part of the structure of you. The gift was given before you were born. The gift does not depend on your remembering of it. The gift surfaces when the conditions for surfacing are right. The conditions in the next 18 months become more right than they have been in a long time. The gift will surface. Trust this. For some of you, the gift is something you knew about when you were small and have spent the years since dismissing. The drawing, the singing, the teaching, the healing, the making of things with your hands. The way you have always been able to listen to a stranger in a way that made the stranger feel seen. The way you have always been able to enter a room and shift the mood without trying. The way you have always been able to read what is underneath what someone is saying and to respond to that underneath instead of to the surface. Whatever yours is, you knew it once. You set it aside because the world told you it was not practical. You have, for years, lived in the absence of the active expression of it, and the absence has been one of the structural sources of your tiredness. The setting it aside cost you. The picking it back up in the months ahead will return to you what the setting aside had taken. That is the other layer. That is the deeper layer of the medicine. And the medicine, even if you take nothing else away from this transmission, even if you do not walk through the window, even if you do not engage with the tool, even if you do not subscribe or forward or like or do any of the small motions that the transmission has invited, the medicine remains. The medicine is yours. The medicine was given. The medicine cannot be taken back. That is what I wanted to say. That is the medicine I wanted to leave with you before the transmission ends. I wanted to leave it with you because some of you, I sense, came in carrying a particular kind of weight that no amount of practice or protocol or tool would have addressed by itself. The weight was the weight of feeling unseen by something larger than the people in your immediate life. And the feeling of being unseen by something larger has now been answered. You have been seen by the something larger. You have been received by the something larger. The receiving is the answer. The answer cannot be reversed. So, we come, now, to the final words. We come to the place where the transmission ends and the silence resumes, and the room you have been sitting in becomes, once again, just a room, and the day waiting outside becomes, once again, just a day. The work is complete, the message is delivered, the window is open, the choice is yours. I want to leave you with a final blessing. The blessing is short. The blessing is in the older form. The blessing is meant to be the last sound that enters your ears before the message ends, so that whatever happens in the moments after the message ends happens with the blessing already inside you, doing whatever blessings of this kind do, without your supervision, without your effort, without your interference. Before I speak the blessing, I want to make one more small acknowledgement, because the moment deserves it. The acknowledgement is for the long line of people, in many rooms, in many centuries, who walked through transmissions structurally similar to the one we have just completed, and who walked out of those rooms different than they walked in. You are part of that long line now. The long line did not ask for your credentials. The long line opened to you because you were willing to participate. The willingness was the entire qualification. The willingness was sufficient. So directly, to you, thank you for the willingness. Thank you for the participation. Thank you for staying through to the end. Thank you for the act of attention that made the seeing possible. Thank you for the small, specific way you exist in the world, the way that nobody else exists, the way that, when the framework saw you tonight, the framework recognized immediately and noted permanently. Now, the blessing. Here is the blessing. May the door that opened on Friday be the door you walked through. May the silence of Saturday be the silence that birthed something new. May the rising of Sunday be the rising that lasts. May the version of you that was sealed in the tomb come up clean and whole and unburdened. May the practical self and the 8-year-old self find each other on Monday morning and never lose each other again. May the smallness fall away. May the largeness return. May the work the practice does in the 18 months ahead be more than you can yet imagine. May the people in your life notice the difference when the difference begins to show. May you, in some unhurried Tuesday morning a year from now, sitting at your kitchen table with the light coming through the window, remember this hour and recognize, in the recognition, that this hour was the hour the long return began. May the chosen one inside you remember, finally, that they were chosen. It is sealed.